Coming to you from the Troy Lee Design Saloon in Corona, California, it's the Whiskey Throttle Show, bringing you the legends and leaders of our sport with your host, David Pingree. This week's guest is brought to you by Yamaha, the leaders in the power sports industry. Motocross bikes, street bikes, adventure bikes, generators, side-by-sides, quads, boats. Yamaha sets the standard. Yamaha revs your heart. Today's guest is presented by Therabody, the world leader in human performance, wellness, and recovery. The pioneers of percussive therapy, Therabody changed the game with the Theragun device. Their arsenal has grown to include recovery compression systems, powered electric muscle stimulators, adjustable vibrating foam rollers, and a complete line of organic wellness solutions with their Thera One lineup. Whether you are a world-class athlete or you are just looking to improve your overall health, Therabody has the tools to help. Today's show brought to you in part by Method Race Wheels, the strongest, lightest, fastest wheels in off-road. Method dominates the off-road market, and they have the wheels for your truck, sprinter, SUV, Jeep, or van. SKDA Graphics. SKDA has turned the motorcycle graphic design world on its head by bringing a fast, fresh look into the sport. From outside-the-box designs to retro looks to a complete line of Whiskey Throttle show graphics, SKDA is operating on a completely different plane than the rest. With free global shipping on orders of over $100 and unrivaled customer service, right now is the time to freshen up the look of your ride. Troy Lee Designs. Built for the world's fastest racers, Troy Lee Designs blends elite-level protection with a history of industry-leading style and performance. From motocross gear to custom paint to bicycle protection, Troy Lee Designs is waiting for you on the next level.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us here at the Whiskey Throttle Show. I am your host, David Pingree. Today we've got a super cool guest breaking some ground here on our show. First female guest we've had. I like it. But she's not new to breaking ground. Three-time gold medalist at the X Games. She's been smashing through all kinds of barriers on a dirt bike, literally and figuratively, with a world record we'll talk about here in her show. Vicki Golden, welcome.
Dude, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
I'm stoked. And you know, like you've been on, I've got this long master list of people I want to have on the show, and you've been on it forever. But when I saw that video of you flipping, crashing, trying it, and then getting back up and to do it, I'm like, dude, I got to get her on. That's the gnarliest thing.
Yeah, that wasn't like my proudest moment of myself, but it also, I guess it was more of like, it says a lot about my brain, but not about my skills.
Well, the fact, first of all, I'm not flipping. Like, there's a lot of guys who are like, yeah, no way, I wouldn't even try that. Not only did you do it and beat her hard, and then you got back up and did it and stuck it. That's like insane. Yeah. I was just like, this chick is gnarly.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's technically like, I mean, we all have like a pretty good system of like what to learn, like how to learn a new trick, and that was not the way to go. I actually spent my summer on the East Coast, and Brody Wilson is a freestyle rider I do a lot of shows with, and he has the most unbelievable facility like you could ever dream of if you're like a free rider or a freestyle rider. Huge foam pit, endless jumps galore, not just 175. Like you could, it's just like a mini imagination.
Where is
out there.
What state?
It's in Massachusetts. So he was just, him and his dad were just so nice, offered up, they're like, hey, you should start flipping. And I was like, well, like I've been wanting to for a while. I haven't in forever. And so they just opened up their pit and literally let me, his dad was there every single day in the excavator, just helped pulling me out, fluffing the pit. And they're like, yeah, when you're ready, well, they have like full bag setups because that's, you know, he actually has 2 full setups to when we go and do shows on bags. Okay. And so he was like, yeah, and when you're ready, we'll just go down in the field and we'll fold out the bag and inflate it for you and set it all up. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, when all the tools are just like, here you go. And I'm like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But that's what I did all summer, and then it started getting cold back there, so it's time to get out of there and head back to California. And Keith Sayers has the exact same setup out here, but it's been a couple weeks. I hadn't even rode. I traveled across the country, and that was like just first one trying it that I haven't rode or even flipped in a couple weeks. And like, that's just not how you go about doing it when you're a first timer.
Well,
so
the hard part about that trick, there's a lot of hard parts, but
yeah,
it's not like jumping a tabletop where you can kind of jump to the middle,
feel it,
and go a little
yeah,
farther and go, all right, I'm feeling good now, I'll,
yeah,
it's all or nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, the minute I left the ramp, I knew I was in big trouble.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah. I've done enough to feel like where I'm at in the rotation, and a lot of people, like, that's kind of what you go in the pit for, is to learn, because it's kind of just a black hole. Like, you don't get like a lot of vision. It's just like you go by feel. And the minute I left the ramp, I knew my yank was pretty much pointless, and just everything was worst case scenario. So I was like just upside down, going so slow, and I probably could have rode out, but the last second, the minute I looked at the bag, I'm like, I don't got this. And that's when
it was really close, because
yeah.
I watched that video over and over, and I'm like, I almost feel like you had it. You just,
yeah.
But
yeah,
that's a split-second decision.
Yeah, might have been able to, but I was like, I don't think I got it. And the minute I just touched the bag, it just sent me right over. But I mean, like I said, if I was doing things the right way and not skipping a step, which, I mean, back east, I was doing everything the right way, but I kind of just rushed myself. I should have gone maybe a couple more in the pit just to like get familiar with it again. Like you said, it's not a tabletop. You can't really feel it out. You just have to do it. And that setup was actually really tough. Taka jumped it after and flipped it. He's like, it's actually really hard to flip. Really? Yeah, it was just the way it was set up. It was kind of a step up and a sandy run in. So it was like, yeah, well, our setup, our setups are very similar, but sometimes they're just not ideal, and that was one of them.
So that bag, that the airbag is kind of the new foam pit, or I don't know, the new safety device, and it looks cool. But I know, even going into a pit, because at Nate Adams' old place, I flipped a BMX bike into there. It's the only thing I've ever flipped. Yeah. He was trying to talk me into a mini bike, and I'm like, nope, I'm good. It doesn't feel good still. No, I yard darted into one, and I'm like, yikes! Like I don't have a motorcycle smashing in on top of me. Yeah. And I still wasn't happy with it. Like, it doesn't feel great. And then you're stuck upside down. Yeah. All this foam dust, and you get a little claustrophobic because you try to get out and you can't really. Oh yeah. It's like move. Quicksand. Yeah.
Yeah. I always say they're like soft car crashes.
That's kind of how it is. Yeah. What's the bag like?
The bag.
Like when the bike came and smashed you, did you go down and hit the...
Yeah, I mean, it cushions the blow. But, I mean, once the bag has decompressed and you hit basically like how a bounce house is, you jump. There's a point where the bag stops giving and you go back up. Well, same thing when we crash or use the bag how it, unfortunately, is designed for, is that eventually, like when the bike hit me, I hit the bottom of where the give of the bag, and then there's nothing left to give. So it definitely doesn't feel good, but I mean, it's definitely a lot nicer than dirt.
Yeah, I guess better just hard dirt. Well, that was radical watching you do that. And so to get back up and do it again, was there like in your head where you're going, I don't know, maybe not? Did you have to kind of work through that, or were you like, I'm doing it again?
I was pretty pissed off. I was like pretty disappointed in myself, because I do extra work in the pit because I do not want that to happen, and I want to make sure I mess up in the pit so I know how to correct it. If I'm under or over, same thing when I did the front flip, I did probably 50 to 100 more than I needed to, but I wanted to make it muscle memory. Yeah. So like if I'm in those situations, I know how to handle it, because you're never going to be perfect on a motorcycle. So I just wanted to create some muscle memory of like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this wrong, like I need to know how to fix it. Yeah. Same thing, like when you're upside down and like flipping, you have a rotation that you're not used to, like grabbing the clutch and pulling it and like tapping the brake to just slow it down. Like it's kind of gnarly. So like I wanted to practice that and make sure like if I was over, I knew how to handle that as well. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure like I had it in me, so I was like, this should never happen. And that's why I was like so freaking mad at myself. I was like, I did all this work and I still did it wrong. Yeah. And I was just so upset with myself. And I literally like, once I knocked the wind out of myself, and I had like some road rash on my back, and I've been battling a shoulder injury. So bike hit me right in my bad shoulder, and I just like got up, got the wind back in me, and I was just so friggin' mad. And I looked at my bike and the bars were bent, and I'm like, I can't do it again. And I'm like, And I like looked at my boyfriend Seth. I'm like, do you think you can go to the house and get me a new set of bars? Because I was like, I got to do it now. Like, if I like, they set the bag up, like the whole plan was to set the bag up for a couple days and just get comfortable. And I just didn't even make it that far. So I looked at him, I'm like, I know I'm going to be too sore tomorrow. My shoulder is not going to, like, this is not going to work tomorrow. Like, I can't come back and do it. So he was literally getting ready to unload the truck. And because we just came from the East Coast, I had a spare set of bars in my van. And I looked at him like, we're bolting those things on. And bolted the bars on. And I borrowed a set of grips from Jeremy and made sure the thing was straight. And I like had Taka just coaching me the whole time, and he was just like, jump it a bunch. He's like, get used to the actual setup. And so I jumped it probably like 30 times of just straight jumping. And when you flip, you want to land, like flipping takes like 3 feet of your distance. So I was like trying to jump to the bottom of the bag consistently and like get everything comfortable. And I just went for the yank, and it wasn't much better, but I'm like, I'm not doing this again, and just like tried to muscle it. And thankfully that one worked out.
So is there something with that ramp that's just a little slower, or what do you think it was? I
just inexperience on my part. I pulled like completely too late. Like, it's just, there's a sweet spot to pull, and I completely missed it. And
Travis said something on the show. Of course, I know nothing about flipping. I never tried it, not gonna ever do it. But he said if he was talking about the double, because if I pull too hard, initially it pulls me forward on the bike, and it actually like kind of stalls you out.
Yeah, I struggled with that at the beginning of like kind of just pulling at the wrong time, because especially if you're short, like I'm not tall. And if you pull at the wrong time, especially if you're too late, like I would like almost slip a peg, hit my butt on the rear fender, and then it pushes you forward. So then the whole rotation stops, and like to catch that at a split second is like the make or break or do or die part, you know. And that's where like learning to how to fix your mistakes upside down is the tough part.
And do you panic rev the whole time? Because that would obviously get you around quicker.
It definitely helps, but once you have a dead pull, it's just like,
nothing's saving it.
Yeah, thankfully what I've realized with 75, which Twitch told me a lot about, is like you can like completely mess up and it'll come around because of the distance you have. Like on the smaller stuff, people like to start small, which makes sense, but it's harder to correct. So
you have less time to
correct it, and with 75 you have more time.
What was the distance you jumped?
75.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. Well, that was awesome. Like I just kept watching the video and going, that's rad.
Thank you.
So this is our front end chatter. I think I skipped right into it because I was so excited to talk about it. Method Race Wheels bringing you this segment, you guys. Get over there and check them out. Whiskey Throttle. MethodRaceWheels.com/Whiskey Throttle. 20% off on any Method products. Full set of wheels for your van, sprinter, truck, whatever you got. So check those guys out. You're in a sport that's largely guys. I mean, there's only I could cut a couple fingers off and still count on one hand the number of gals who come out and do this at a very high level. What's that been like for you? It's probably cool to be kind of breaking ground, but it's also probably you've gotten some pushback, I would imagine, in places. And what's that been like for you?
I mean, like, as far as pushback goes, I mean, at this point in my life, like when I raced Supercross, I got a lot of pushback. Like, and to be fair, like some weekends, like it was kind of like deserved. But now I think that I've like put in enough work and been surrounded by literally the best of the best. Like I wouldn't be here without Axel and Tyler and Jeremy, and like having those guys just absolutely push me, because I can look at them and be like, I can do that. Maybe not as stylish or whatever they're doing, but I'm like, I can do that. Like there's no doubt in me that I can do it. So like having them surround me, and they're 100% like pretty much just like, do it, pussy, you can do it. And that's just like,
sounds like them.
That's how they treat me. And like that's literally what makes me, because they don't be like, oh well, you did great today. Like if I ride like crap, they're like, yo, what's the problem? Like they're just like straightforward, and like that's how I am with them. So just having like the best of the best not treat you any differently, and pretty much be like, yo, like you can do this. And like especially even like at Imagination in places where I mean, our first year at Imagination, it was like everyone was terrified. We had like the best of the best, just completely terrified out of their mind. And I just like looked at Tyler, and once Tyler went, I'm like, I'm going. And just takes like those surrounding people and surrounding yourself with the right people with the right mindset to really like have myself in that scenario. So it's, I mean, yeah, it takes me to do it, but having them around is like kind of what I like thrive with.
That's true in everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Racing, life, doesn't matter. It's the people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And how they're supporting you or not. It's interesting because like, and we'll get to this, but I was managing the Troy Lee team in 09 and 2010 when FMX or women's motocross, not FMX, women's motocross was
at its prime,
peaking, right? And so we had Tara Geiger on the team. Jessica Patterson was fast. Ashley Feilich was factory Honda. And you were, who were you riding for at the time? It was
at the time it was myself. The first year
you got a ride. So
I got a fill-in ride with Geico, and then in 2010 I was Moto Concepts for the year.
That's what I'm thinking of. But I just remember you guys being kind of the small group of girls who could go fast, and then there was a huge gap, right?
Yeah.
And it just didn't get a lot of traction with guys, with fans, I think, because they're like, well, they're not going as fast as the pro men, so like, why do I want to watch this? You know, they lost the fact that it was women. That didn't impress them or something, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't get a lot of mainstream traction. What I think is cool about what you're doing now, having transitioned to freestyle, is not a lot of men will do what you're doing. Like what you're doing is gnarly. I wouldn't go, you know, even in my prime, like at that Imagination, I'd probably be like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just very, very impressive what you're doing. So
Thank you.
I'm stoked to see the direction you've taken with it, and the fact that you didn't just go, oh well, racing didn't really pay out, so I guess just I'm done. You just took a whole other direction and went for it. I love it. So we'll get into more of that, but I don't know. You have anything to say about that? Like, did you do that intentionally? I suppose you did.
Yeah, I mean, in those years when you were team manager and stuff, like, dude, I wasn't like that good. Like, I didn't have good like technique. I rode on like the arches to the heels of my feet on the pegs. Elbows were for sure down. Like the only thing I had going for me was, I remember, I think it was High Point, and it was when the layout had the huge double like right in the middle, before where now that huge triple is up the hill.
Yep.
Before they had like a huge peaky double. And I was like, I got that all day. Like, didn't hesitate. It was like easy for me.
You've always been a jumper.
Yeah, I've always been a jumper, and that was like kind of like where it all started. I'm like, why aren't you guys jumping? It's not that hard. And like they were like all tripping on it, and it was just like something I feel like came natural to me. But like I didn't have like great speed. I think I was in like fourth by myself. Like nobody, like fifth was super gone, third and up was completely gone. I was just like chilling in fourth by myself.
Jumping
and I'm
this
like,
big double.
yeah, I'm just like having fun, and like that was like where I was like almost every season. Like no, I get like a couple laps in with like the top women, but like then they just like kind of take off, and then we had such a big gap that fifth was nowhere to be found. So I was just like, this isn't racing. This is just
I'm out here riding around alone in fourth.
Yeah, I'm just riding by myself in fourth. So I was just like, what am I doing? Like, you know, I'd see the paychecks and it's not a lot. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to like do something that this isn't really that fun. So I think that's kind of what sparked my brain of like, well, I started kind of riding a little bit of like Supercross tracks that were kind of letting me ride. And that's when X Games started to have the women's, well, they had women's Moto X at the time, but I don't think I was even invited yet. But then I just started riding that type of stuff, and I was having so much fun. You know, like I think my first ever experience, like Darren Durham towed me over a couple triples, and I was like, oh, this is so much fun. Like it's kind of like endless opportunity. Like if you want to go 3-3, 3-2, 2-3, like I don't know, it just like kind of sparked my creativity of like, oh, there's so many options. It's just not like which rut do you get to, like what do you pick? Like it was just like kind of sparked my creativity.
Are you a little more of a technical rider? Like you appreciate, you know, kind of those fine technical things rather than just twisting it and feet off the pegs?
Yes and no. I am like a very precise, like precision, like technical rider. So I like understand and like appreciate that, but I can also appreciate like the dude or the person that just can hang it out because I can't do it. I like, if I mess up once, and that was like one of my downfalls of racing Supercross, and unfortunately being on a Suzuki didn't help, unfortunately. But if I like clipped a 2 or a 3 and there was another, continuing on a rhythm section, if I clipped it, I'd be like, I don't know if I got it. And just like making those small mistakes like kind of carried with me even like into the lap, into the next lap, into the next corner. So I don't know, I definitely can appreciate the person who can make mistake after mistake after mistake and still just carry on like it never happened, which I just couldn't get myself to do.
That's a skill.
Yeah, it's a skill in itself.
I wasn't real great at that either. All right, well, let's move on to your story here. Before we do, just want to tell you guys, get over to whiskeythrottlemedia.com. We've got new merch up there, a bunch of features, bike tests, written features, all kinds of stuff. All the Whiskey Throttle shows are on there, so check them out. Lots of new stuff up there. And our guest is brought to you by Therabody. So if you guys are interested in the Theragun, powered out any of their products, check those guys out. Awesome stuff. You grew up in El Cajon, right?
Yeah, Cajon Zone.
92, you're born?
Yeah, born 92.
Tell me about, I'm trying to think back then, what El Cajon was like in the 90s. I think I rode out there in 92. I was riding for JT as an intermediate, and we did a photo shoot at Palm Avenue. Did you ever ride out there?
I never got to ride at Palm Avenue, no, but I mean, I've heard of it.
Yeah. It was like such a famous spot.
Yeah.
What do you remember growing up there as a kid? What was it like?
I mean, on the bike, it actually was pretty sweet. We had a lot of pretty decent options. I mean, it's about an hour from like your Paris or we didn't have Paula back then, but like that area of where the big name tracks were. But we had Verona, we had El Cajon Motocross. We had some pretty good spots in the hills, like Sleater would take me out and into the hills. And it was just super expensive to travel up to those tracks. So we just kind of made do with what we had. And my parents started kind of hiring the local like Supercross privateers, like the Josh Tarantinos, Jesse Casillas, like those like privateer or like satellite team riders that probably could use that extra money. And they would take me out in the hills and train me out in the hills. And we had these tracks just designed out in the hills that we would cut in and have so much fun. That
land's all gone probably now.
Oh yeah, absolutely gone. I went back there, I think when I got on big bikes and it was just trying to blow through a bunch of weeds to get to where I remember. But dude, it was like the best time of my life being able to just go out in the hills. And I was like a little kid on 60s and 50s and 80s and stuff, and just going out there and just learning.
Well, do you have any siblings?
I have an older brother, yeah.
Okay. So did he ride? Is that kind of how it...
He rode growing up, but he kind of just took the wrong path. I mean, that's unfortunately where, our town growing up is a lot of drug problems, a lot of just bad experiences, like negative things that you can easily get caught up in. And unfortunately, he took those paths and showed me what not to do. So I just kind of dove right into moto.
Did you do anything before you got into bikes? Any other sports or like...
I was like kind of into skateboarding a lot, and there was sports in school, but they'd always like want to have me come in, be a part of like the teams or whatever. I'm like, no, I gotta go ride.
Team sports girl.
No, I would have been down for the team sports, but like, but you have to do practice this many days a week, and I'm like, nah, I gotta go ride. Can't do that.
That's not gonna work for me.
Yeah.
So how did you get your first bike? Was it a hand-me-down from your brother, or like your dad just hooked you up with a P-dub, or what?
So I'm 7 years younger than my older brother, so hand-me-downs weren't really a thing, but I got an XR50 for Christmas. I bugged my parents all year, and my dad was a huge dirt bike fan, like absolutely loved them. So I think it probably brought, just pure joy into his life when I was like, I gotta get one, I need one. And so I bugged him all year, and that Christmas I got an XR50 under the tree.
How was that?
It was amazing. I started getting all the gear under the tree, and then I was like, this is kind of weird. I don't have a bike. And you're young, so you obviously don't put it together yet. And sure enough, then all of a sudden I come over, and they push a little XR50 through the door, and I'm like, no way. And
you're opening the gear. Oh, thanks a lot, Dad.
Yeah, I get a helmet. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Yeah.
That's hilarious. Did you guys race right away, or was it more just kind of trail riding for fun?
My dad was like huge on racing.
So he was racing.
He loved racing. So I think when I turned 8, I started racing. I mean, local Barona stuff and like the first timer Pee Wee class. But yeah, he was definitely big on racing. He would always take us out to just like these random spots in the hills just to like go ride around. So riding in the hills was like a huge part of my childhood. So that's I think why like free ride and that type of stuff and kind of like my bike skill comes from, because
feels like home.
I was on an XR50 trying to climb these hills with rain ruts on them and the wheels are this big. So what are you going to do? But that's just, what I grew up learning
and you were
on.
trying to keep up with dad and big brother.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I was doing everything I could.
So the track El Cajon Raceway, that was at like a speedway or something, right? I think I did like a mini bike race there.
Yeah, they had, so it was like kind of a weird thing. It was like, I think the airport's land. It was backing an airport, and then there was like a little like mini speedway, and then on the other side was like a little soccer like a facility type thing.
Yeah.
So it was like in the middle of all this random stuff, but it was actually a super sick track.
Yeah, and it's gone, right?
Gone. I think the airport took their land back and just had a lot of complaints and stuff like that. It's kind of somewhat in the middle of a city. So, it didn't last as long as I'd hoped, but man, that's like, I always say, one of the tracks I wish I could have rode on a big bike, because I remember getting to ride it as a kid, and everyone that I've grown up with, and like they talk about that track, they're like, it was the funnest track.
Yeah.
So I'm bummed I don't get to ride it now as an adult.
Yeah, it sucks that these things close down out here, but it's happening more and more.
Absolutely.
Do you remember your first race?
My first race, I don't know if it was my first race, but yeah, I remember a handful of races as a kid, just literally the Pee Wee track at Barona, and just having fun. And I don't know why I thought it was cool. Like when we'd go down the straights, I'd take an arm off, put it back on, take an arm off, and just like have the swag. So I probably had it as a young age of just like the free ride in me.
A little bit of showing off.
But dad was just like not having it. No. I remember my brother, like in the prime of freestyle, he cut up his fenders, and when my dad seen it, he's like, "You are taking those things right off." He's like, absolutely not. So
he wasn't a militia fan.
No, he was anti-freestyle. So I'm sure he's looking at me right now, just like, what are you doing?
Well, it's a little different than it was back then.
Yeah, we don't cut our fenders anymore, thankfully.
No. And your dad was pretty good, huh? Like,
yeah, I mean, he was a vet novice guy. I think maybe intermediate at some point, but yeah, he like I said, he loved racing, and we'd go racing every chance we got at like Barona or El Cajon, and occasionally that we'd make the trips up to like a Paris or Glen Helen and whatnot. But yeah, dude, he loved it.
Yeah, and he had a bad accident there. Tell me about that and how that. I'm curious how that didn't like affect you more psychologically. I feel like I would have kind of been like, I'm done.
Yeah. So that El Cajon track, every Monday it was vets and quads. Not sure why, but that's what it is. And no, I mean, even at that time,
common.
At Glen Helen, Glen Helen did that till like 2010, 11, something like that. So it was actually super common back then. But yeah, he just went off like up the face of a tabletop, and a quad hit him. So it was kind of like, I wasn't there, but it was, from what I heard, it was kind of similar to like Chad Reed's crash, where he just shot off the track without his bike, and he was paralyzed from there on out. And I was 12 at the time, so I was like too young, and my parents kept me away from the hospital. So I think that's probably why.
They were just telling you dad's hurt.
Yeah.
But you can't see
so
him.
I didn't really get full details, like the whole thing. So I think that's probably why, because if I was like 16 going to the hospital to visit him and things like that, we probably wouldn't be talking today. Absolutely.
That's just heavy, like for anybody.
Yeah.
Even for a 12-year-old, you got to see your dad, like, he was riding his dirt bike.
Yeah. Young enough to not completely understand, but old enough to know that, dad can't walk anymore. And, we pretty much, like, we didn't make a whole lot of money, and it was really thankful to the moto community of like donating, because we had to change our whole house, like completely renovate it. The doors weren't wide enough even for a wheelchair to get through. We had stairs everywhere, so like we had to do a lot of renovation, and obviously we didn't, I was just sitting there helping, friends and family just do renovation on the house while he was in the hospital, and my mom was, taking care of him as much as she could and still working jobs. So
was your brother around at all at this point, or he's already
he's still kind of in the picture for sure. It didn't happen, I think, a few years into my dad getting hurt that he started to really take wrong turns, but it was just super heavy. I mean, and it was just one of those injuries for him that he just never like bounced back at all. You see a lot of like a Jesse Nelson where, not that he's not like, he's probably has a lot of day-to-day struggles, but he's up and about and able to like do a lot of things. My dad was just not that. He had a lot of nerve problems and a lot of follow-up surgeries, and just never not in pain, never not having issues. So it sucked the life out of him. Like he worked his butt off though. Like if I needed help in the garage, it'd take him an hour to get to the garage, but he got to the garage to help me. And it was kind of just like, just getting to at least do that and just seeing like the push. So it kind of came down to like, if I wanted to keep riding, I had to work on the bikes and if the bikes were dirty, I had to clean them. If they need something, I got to fix it. So thankfully at that time, like I said, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but at that time I was on 80s, had 2 80s. So I remember like changing a set of bars. I'd look over and be like, okay, the kill switch goes here. Okay. And I would just read the manual.
I still do that. Okay.
I do that now. I'm like, oh, is this... I look at the other bike, I'm like, okay, I got it.
Well, probably taught you a lot of mechanics and things that you would have never learned otherwise.
Oh, absolutely. I think
you gotta pull something positive out of it.
Oh yeah, if he never got hurt, I would not know how to tighten a chain, put air in the tires, like absolutely nothing, because he spoiled me. He was like making sure I had everything dialed. The bikes were always dialed and spotless. So I kind of had to learn that, on my own. But it definitely builds a heck of amount of character, and I love working on bikes now.
Do you?
Yeah, not mine, but like if I have like free time or I like build a bike of my own, like it's fun. The day-to-day maintenance, no, nobody likes doing that, but there's times where I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna go in the garage and tinker.
Working on project bikes, it's kind of therapy.
Absolutely.
Put some music on and forget everything else.
I love it.
How's your dad doing now? Is he
passed away in 2016.
Complications from everything? Or?
Yeah, he wasn't even on, doctors even said he took 30 pills a day just to like regulate how many issues he had. So it was just like he lived well past what the doctors expected.
Oh, really?
The only downfall was that he was actually starting to get some like independence back and be able to do things that he wasn't able to do before, and then he ended up passing away. So it was kind of like he started actually like gaining some progress, and that's when it happened. But like I said, he lived well past what doctors expected, so we got more time with him than we were supposed to.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. That's awful. Man, I gotta think if he was here, he'd be stoked for you.
Oh, dude, I think about it all the time, and sure enough, like I always look at my freestyle bikes and just see the big cut grab in them, and I'm just like, I just look at it sometimes and I'm like, he would just hate this. But
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah, I know he's stoked.
He'd be pumped.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned somewhere along the line, I've seen you say that you racing with the boys was never like, it was just like normal. This is what you did. You had a brother, and it's just kind of what you did. Does that make it easier to kind of blend in with the guys now?
Absolutely. I grew up not knowing much different. We didn't have girls' classes per se till I think I was on 80s. So,
and
all
no
the
other
races,
girls riding with you probably, right?
Yeah, we had maybe 2, I think.
There were
2 other,
friends
okay. So but not enough to actually make a class for a gate drop and things like that. So it was just always that's how I grew up. I didn't know any different, and it wasn't till 80s on where I started getting into the women's classes and the girls' classes, and getting some money to go to some bigger races where there's more females to race. So it was kind of like a little bit late to where I started experiencing that. So it was actually honestly like harder to race women sometimes because I wasn't used to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Boys just like push you around and they don't care, and you like learn how to fight back, but like women have respect and like they don't want to hit you, and it's just like, I don't know, it's weird. Like you just have so much respect that it doesn't
So it made it almost awkward.
Yeah, kind of, it did. And so like racing against dudes, they're ready to T-bone you, especially at Arenacross. Like that's full brawls.
Oh yeah. That's basically a street fight on wheels.
Exactly.
I've done just enough of those to know, yeah, you better be ready to get T-boned.
Yeah, my first Arenacross, I hit some kid so hard I bent my fork tubes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff. You guys got serious pretty quickly because you went to Loretta's in 04, 05, and 06. Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like 16th, 3rd, and 11th over those years. But you were pretty young in 04. I mean, you guys went pretty early.
Yeah, we did. I don't know how. Like I said, we grew up with not a whole lot of money, and I think it really kind of came into my mom's boss. He did vintage trials, and so he was like a kind of a dirt bike fan on his own, and he's seen kind of like how much I love the sport, and he kind of stepped in on the financial stuff. Like he was the one that when I was 16 bought me my first truck.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like a lot of my success is to just, I call him my uncle. He calls me on my birthday. Like just.
What's your mom's business? It
was his business, but she did an accountant and like bookkeeping for a hardware company. Like not like your normal hardware company. Like if the job sites need certain things, they were the middleman that kind of made it all happen. So it wasn't your typical hardware store, but they did the big jobs.
Yeah,
so
commercial stuff.
Yeah, so he was kind of the guy for that, and yeah, he was just really good to my family. And like I said,
you still keep in touch with him?
He's literally my Uncle Dave. So he bought me my first truck. I had a bike blow up and we couldn't afford it, so he was like, hey, you go find the bike, a used bike, and I'll buy it, but you have to do it all. And so I found a bike that was reasonably priced, and I showed it to him, and he's like, okay, let's go buy it. And like that saved me. Like the bike was blown up, we couldn't afford to fix it, and he was like, I got this.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it was a lot of my success was to him, which is why like a lot of my older bikes had Resner Builders hardware on it. Huge like logo. It was just writing, it wasn't even a logo, but that was on the shroud because he was the guy helping me out so much.
Thanks, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, crushed it.
That's pretty rad. What do you remember from those first trips? You were in the 65 to 105, 9 to 13, which seems super weird to me that you're racing 65s against like a 105.
Yeah, I don't think there were many 65s even in the class at the time, but yeah, it was very, very widespread racing for women. So they might as well just put a rung what you brung on there, but at least we had a class, so we weren't going to complain. But first Loretta's experience, I think, did decent. Like,
you got a third the second year.
So I think my first year I wasn't like too stoked. I was a little like bummed out, didn't get the best results, and then I think my last moto I actually was doing really well and I got landed on. So didn't end off with what I was hoping for. The following year came back and I did what I was hoping to do the year before. So it started off decently well.
Yeah. Were you from being back on my first trips, I remember out there, the humidity just crushed me.
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like that in my life. The mud was never any good in the mud. So of course you have a mud moto back there usually.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit of a learning curve.
Oh yeah. Especially being a Cali kid, you don't get mud, you don't get humidity. So you go there and
I grew up in Arizona. So it's even worse than here. I couldn't ride the mud. If it was over like 15% humidity, I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And like when you think like a young kid, kids don't get tired, but when you go from California to Tennessee, kids get tired.
But a good experience those first couple years. Anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
And you and your dad probably had.
Yeah.
Like that's maybe for me, I think we went back 2 times to Loretta's, maybe 3 times to Ponca. And now looking back, it's obviously been a long time. My favorite memories aren't even the racing. It was the driving with my dad and the different stuff we did.
Same.
Memories I'll never lose, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's when my dad wasn't hurt yet. So we literally, my Uncle Dave let us borrow his trailer or his camping trailer and go to Loretta's. So it was just literally a family trip, and we didn't really take family trips too often. So I mean, dirt bikes were the family trips.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like the coolest experience, getting to just go with the whole family. And my mom like loves that I love dirt bikes, but she like hates dirt bikes.
Oh really?
Yeah, can't stand them because like it's too scary. Like,
so she won't ride.
No, not
she
yeah.
supports you still.
Yeah, she would love if I would get into like the safest sport on the planet. But she's seen that I love it so much, so she's like, all right, go do it, but I don't want to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure she's not digging watching you now. When you were 16, you went back again to Loretta's, and you won the championship.
Yeah, that was the year that the Cali kid went early and got used to the humidity.
Ah, okay.
So and that's when I was actually Mike Craig was helping me train, and his training methods were actually super good. He's like, go pick the hardest part on the track and we're gonna practice that section. So he had like a great mentality, not like the easiest rut you could find. We picked the hardest rut you could find. So it was like cool training aspect. And he actually took me out there early, and we got to train, I think in Arkansas for like 2 or 3 weeks early. Obviously what the standard kids do, you got to ride in a hoodie and all that stuff. Yeah. And
rain jacket, and all that stupid
trash
stuff.
Bags and whatever you could find to make yourself even more miserable to acclimate yourself. But it got the job done.
Yeah. Well, Michael Ray knows what he's doing. I mean, he's been there and done that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
How big was that championship for you? I mean, did that feel like kind of, I don't know, everything that you had gone through up to that point was worth it now? Like, some sort of validation of it?
Yeah, I mean, funny story is that I only had one bike, and it was like barely working. We had some electrical issues like the week before where it was just starts to get hot and it like wouldn't run right, and just couldn't figure it out and didn't have any resources to figure it out. So we just kind of ran it and hoped it was going to work. So that was like, that's all we had to work with. And somehow it worked and came down to the last moto. It still was holding strong, and we fixed it after. And
what was it?
The stator went out, and it was just like when it would get hot, it just wouldn't run, wouldn't start if it died. So I'm like, I can't tip over, like not an option.
Gosh.
And just like stressing, breaking down in tears, like, when my bike's not working, what am I gonna do? And it's somehow it all still paid off, and that was like a huge feeling. And I thought that was gonna be like the ticket of like, now my financial like stresses of like having all these things broken that I can't afford to fix, like this win will break that, and now I can get some support and get all this. And it was kind of heartbreaking because it never came. Didn't get any help, didn't get any extra anything from that win.
Who did you beat that year? Like, who were the other gals you were racing with?
Sarah Price was the main one, and she was on Team Green and like had all like the cool Cowie stuff, and I was just sitting there with a Honda that barely ran. So it was just kind of like, I don't know, cool that I was able to still beat those types of riders. But yeah, I don't think anyone else really was in there that I can remember that's still around to this day.
But nobody, you didn't get even so much as a phone call from...
No, we contacted Honda and we tried to get something, but just not really much interest. And that was kind of like the turning point of like, why would we spend all this money to go back when it didn't do anything? So that's kind of where it was like, my dad's like, well, we can go to like Tennessee and go race an amateur national, or you can go right up the road to Glen Helen and go to Sacramento and Hangtown and go race the pro stuff. And that's pretty much what the ultimate decision was, because it was just cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, why would we do this again? So we just started.
Coming out of it's a waste of time. At this point, you won. So what, are you gonna win again? Yeah.
So I turned pro and we went to Glen Helen, and I think I got 4th or 5th at Glen Helen. Then went to Hangtown, and I think I got a 3rd in the second moto. So I started to see a glimpse of like, oh man, like I'm actually pretty good at this stuff. And
then at that point, was anybody talking to you?
Yeah, I was. I've been with Fox at that point for a good handful of years, and my trainer at the time, Tyler Kalesiak, was good friends with. I think his name was Warren at Fox, and it was us around the same time that they were trying to organize this for 2010. for me to be on that factory team, because it was at that time, it was Filik had factory Honda. I think Sarah was on factory Cowie. And so each team was starting to bring on one female. And obviously Tara was with you guys. And that was kind of starting to get maybe organized for the following year. And then that's when Trey got hurt. And they sped everything up. They're like, do you want to try the bike and go race for Geico? And I'm like, of course I do.
Yes, please.
I'm like, absolutely. And then shortly after that, they came out and did some testing with me. I got a set of Tomax amateur forks and suspension. I was just like, oh my God.
How was that, riding that bike for the first time compared to what you'd always been on?
For the first time, I mean, they detuned the motor probably quite a bit for me, but still better than what I had. I had I think maybe a piston.
You were just happy to have a good stator.
Yeah, I was just happy to have a running bike, let alone like sweet suspension and, like pipe options. I'm like, what do you mean I can try this pipe and this pipe? I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy to have like options that they would give me. And yeah, dude, I just remember they let me try like the pipes on my own bike and came out and tested me on my own bike just to start getting a feel for what horsepower really is at this point. Yeah. And then that next race was Colorado. So it was detuned at elevation. I thought that thing was a rocket ship.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I know Tara, the bike she raced wasn't what our premier guys were, but it was close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think I could have even, like, it wouldn't have been an advantage for me to be at what they had. Maybe now I could totally be fine handling it, but back then...
It was all you could handle.
Yeah, I had, like I said, a bone stock bike with probably 60 hours on it, so I was just tired.
What do you remember from those next few seasons? 2009, 2010, 2011. You ended up 6th, 4th, and 5th overall in the championship with some podium finishes. Like you did, like I said, you were one of the girls up front. And I remember that. What stands out from those years for you? Because it was like, it almost seemed like it was really going to go and turn into something.
Yeah.
We were getting good TV time, like it was worth it for us to have a gal on the team.
Absolutely.
And we got a lot of play out of it, and the racing was fun at times, but it did get to where it was like after a while, and Patterson and Filik had some battles here and there, but it was like usually it was everyone knew their position. Yeah. You kind of slotted into it, and then it was there wasn't great battles.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's what the downfall of the sport, and ultimately what probably killed the sport, or killed that opportunity, I should say, is to having us there, is because it was literally like same every moto. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was all the same. It was never anything intense happening. It was just us riding around, and it was already hard enough to relate when we're going so much slower than your 250 pros. So it just didn't help. And then even after that, it just dramatically fell off. Like you said before, it was just, we were lapping girls and we didn't even have full 30-minute motos. We had, I think, 15 maybe. So we had like 8 laps. And we were
like
lapping
10th back.
Yeah.
It was,
and it's just like, it made it even look even worse when we were already the front was all by themselves, and then the back of the pack honestly just didn't belong. Yeah. And it just as a whole, it just wasn't working. So I totally understood. And those years just kind of like meshed together. And was
it fun? Like, were you enjoying it, or were you kind of like, eh?
I think I was enjoying more of, like, when I was on Moto Concepts, we had, like a group of riders, getting to travel with them, and like kind of the experience of just having like friends and family around type thing, and just going to the races together as a team. Like, that was super fun. But it only lasted the 1 year. So then I was back to being a privateer and doing it all on my own, and no money, and sitting in 4th place. And I was just like, man, this isn't that fun. Yeah. I mean, you're grinding every Monday through Friday and then going racing, and it's just, nothing's like fun. And I mean, I get, like, anyone who's raced professionally knows that it's not fun. It's normally not fun.
You've got to make the fun in between.
Exactly.
Right? Like the work during the week and then the work on the weekends.
Yeah.
And that can be tough too.
Yeah, it's not easy to squeeze in sometimes.
So, and if you don't really jive with your team, or it can be not fun.
Yeah, it's it makes it sometimes just super tough to enjoy when they're like, well, you got 20 more laps to do today and you got to test this and do that. And it's gnarly for sure. But when I was just kind of back to being by myself, just grinding, and then I get to the weekend and be like, okay, well, I'm back to being by myself and just kind of struggling. But that's kind of when I started getting an eye and getting a taste for like Arenacross and Supercross stuff. And like the most enjoyment I had was just getting to work with Hamlin all the time. Like he was my favorite trainer, hands down. Yeah. And I loved working with him. And it was like, if I had a frustrating day, he would make a point to make the fun happen. He's like, hey, you did a pretty sick whip off that table. Go do it again. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, go do it again. I'm like, okay. And like he would just find ways to make it fun because he just kind of was super in tune like of how like I worked, and he made it work for me. And we would dissect stuff and be very technical on our practicing stuff. And if I just like was frustrated and not feeling it, he would find a different way to make it work. And that was like what I needed. So we meshed really well. So that was like the best time. And that's like when I started going to Arenacross, and that's when I started I think X Games came into play and started winning X Games as well.
Where is Sean these days?
I don't know.
Do you know? I haven't seen him in so long.
Since I've stopped training with him, I've seen him, random places, or if he rides once randomly. But
does he live out here still?
I don't even know. I haven't talked to him forever. I was thinking about it the other day. I just seen like old pictures pop up, and I'm like, I should hit him up. I don't even know what he's doing now.
Hambone, where are you? It's impressive to me how you always you seem to find the right time and be able to like pick up, okay, it's time to pivot, right? Like from the amateur stuff to going into pro to like going, okay, I'm making no money again, what can I do now? And you just kind of kept pivoting at the right time, where I think a lot of other girls couldn't or didn't want to, or were just kind of like, forget it,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I was coming in at the right time when I decided to turn pro. That was the peak of women's motocross, and it started to downfall, and I was already kind of over it at this point. And I decided that's when I was like, well, I reached back out to Geico and was like, hey, can I buy a bike from you guys? And I bought one of their 250s, and I built it to go race Arenacross. And when I say built, I didn't do much. I got stiff. I got stiff suspension, and that was about it. And I think Don from Swap or Transworld at the time, he was helping me get some parts here and there because things were obviously breaking. So I was like, hey, he's like, I'll help you if you need parts and stuff like that. So he kind of helped me through Transworld to get me some parts for the bike, and Uncle Dave sent me on my way to go racing. So I went to, I think Colorado was my first one.
And so what year? 2012 or was this 2011?
I think I went in 2012, maybe 2011, somewhere around there. I started racing Arenacross.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about overseas stuff? Do you ever get contracts to go over there and do events?
I didn't do a whole lot, but I did do Geneva Supercross like almost every year at that time. Okay. And that started to come into play. I think when I got that Honda, then I got hit up to go to Geneva, and then I started doing well in those. And
were you racing just the regular race, or they have a women's class?
They brought like a women's like exhibition type thing. Okay. It was like it wasn't a race just yet, but it was like a three lap exhibition. But we obviously were like, we want to race, like, yeah. And there were like gnarly chicks there to race against, like Euros, like Livia Lancelot, who's she's like,
pretty gnarly.
She's really good. So like it was just cool to go over and experience and see like all these women who are actually like talented and really good. Mm-hmm. And just not, I mean, obviously we had a select few, but just girls from overseas that I had never heard of, and I just show up and they're just absolutely ripping. So it was just super cool to see like we can have this. So it was there for a handful of years, I think up until 2013. They had those women's races for us to go to.
A little chunk of money too?
Yeah, a little bit. And I mean, get some show up money to go race. So like, yeah, it was obviously well worthwhile to go. So, I mean, get money to go racing. That's the ultimate goal, especially Europe, when you're a kid. Yeah. So,
did you ever consider, because I feel like their women's series over there actually
seems to be pretty well. I think so.
At the time, especially, it was strong.
Yeah.
Did you ever consider going over there?
No, I never considered it, but that was also when ours was in our prime as well. Yeah. So it was like, why go there when ours is here and it's doing well? So I don't think I ever considered it. It'd probably be fun now, but I don't know if I'd really want to like put in the work.
It's a grind now, right? Okay, so you pivot to do Arenacross, you get this bike, and X Games, they were already doing women's Moto X?
Yeah, I think they started doing it in 2008 or 9.
Okay.
I just started.
I can't remember the years they started doing it.
I don't remember for sure. I know it was in 2009 because I was absolutely gutted because I knew that was like.
Well, Tara did it, so that
yeah,
there, so it would have
I did my first one in 2010. I think I got 4th, and it was just my lucky number. Yeah. But I mean, that was just like when it started to spark because when I was on the team, they gave me access to the Yamaha track, but I only got maybe 2 days on the Yamaha track total to get ready for X Games. And those 2 days, like, I fell in love. Like, I was like, I want to just stay out here all day. Like, I loved it. And then going to X Games, and that's when it was in the Coliseum the first year. And there was just booters.
Yeah.
And so it was just, like, super fun. And I just, like, I fell in love with it. It was just something, like, I just felt a good passion for. And it was something different. So then I just started going to arena crosses and at the time.
So take me through that first X Games gold. 2011, right? Was your first one?
Yeah, 2011.
You kind of came out and beat all these girls who had been winning.
Yeah.
It had to feel good.
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
Incredible. And I don't know how the women's was. I got to believe it was a good payday. I did Supermoto and I was like, I got a bronze.
Oh, yeah.
And the check was like, good.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, I was still a young kid, and I'm like, I just got how much money? I'm like, holy crap!
It was like 20 grand to win, maybe.
I think back then it was 30.
Yeah, but it was a lot of money.
I mean, to do one race and like do well at, and it was just like, I mean, I was blown away. Like I've been struggling, like saving pennies, and I just got a check for $30,000. Like.
How cool is it when that check shows up too?
Oh, dude, I was
just like, the best? It
was just so mind blowing. Like, I mean, like I said, you come from nothing, and like when I was young, like I didn't want to tell people I was from El Cajon. Like it's a trashy city, and there's nothing good that comes out of there. And now I'm like super proud of it, and I think that comes from like knowing Jeremy so well because he grew up in Santee, which is like the town
even
next
worse.
to it. It's even worse. And so like I don't know. It's like now I'm like proud to come from nothing because like. He came from absolute nothing as well, and you know our parents were friends, and so like it was just like it's something to be proud of now. But before I was like, oh man, I don't want to say I'm from San Diego.
He taught me some stuff on the show about his growing up in Santee. He said they used to go to Mexico and do ecstasy, and then they go to school the next day and drink orange juice and crack their backs. And I'm like, huh? And like re-triggers the high or whatever. I'm like. Man, that's a whole other world I don't even know.
Oh yeah. He's given me some funny stories. I think he went to go to a dealership and buy a vehicle cash, and he didn't even have his license. So he paid for the car, and then they were like, "Hey, we need your driver's license." He's like, "I don't got one." And he's like, "Well, I think he's like 18 or so," and he's like, "That's how I ended up getting my driver's license because I had to get the car I just bought."
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, why wouldn't you go get your license?
Yeah, that sounds about right for Twitch. He's something else. Okay, so you win this gold medal. Obviously, you made a good payday there. Did Geico step? Did anybody come to you after that and go, hey? Or gear companies, or I mean, certainly by this point.
At this point, I was starting to kind of get some better support, and this one was like Cowie started definitely helping me with bikes, and I was getting some good support from Cowie, at least like on my standards. They were just giving me bikes, nothing after that, or just maybe a little bit of parts. But I mean that's a huge help, and having sponsors just pay for entry fees and cover expenses, like that's another huge thing to like make it to where the money I actually make from racing can actually go back into my pocket or
Instead back into your program.
Yeah, so like it was just like it was actually super beneficial, and things were starting to click now and start helping. And I think I was with Callie for a handful of years, and just getting that support. I mean, I'm a loyal rider. Like if I get support and it like I want to stay with that company for as long as possible. So just tried to keep that ball rolling until I think I went to go race Supercross, because I think at that time I was still Arenacross, and I had my own help from Cowie, and then the Babbitt's Arenacross team was also helping me with stuff as well, and they were making it basically possible for me to go race Arenacross with them.
So 2011 was your first season doing in Arenacross, though?
I believe so, yeah.
So it started in, end of the winter, or end of the year.
It was a weird season. I think
Yeah.
it was a little bit different than what it is now for timing of the seasons and the series. But I think I did some on my Honda in 2011.
End of 2010 or end of 2011?
Yeah, I can't remember quite where, like I said, it was just weird timing, because I know we were going, I think later, like at the end of the year, right at the beginning, which is pretty on point, but it was just a little bit different of a schedule, but
so those were your first ones you ever did, though?
Yeah, my first one I was doing on my Honda, and the team for Honda in Arenacross is starting to help me out and just make it easier, and like if you need to fly to them, we'll have a bike for you. And then I signed with Babbitt's the following year, so it was just like dream come true.
Okay, how are those first ones? Take me through that, because it's I remember doing some when I was racing Supercross. I thought I'll show up and show these Arenacross boys where the bears shit in the woods. And then Mike Jones blows you off into the stands, and you go, wow.
I watched some, but and if TV does not do anything justice of like the sizing of things and like how things work. So I was just like, okay, like trying to do research best I could. And I was like, dude, I don't know. Like,
did you ever anywhere to practice a good track?
I had Milestone at the time. I was practicing there, and I think I had, I forget.
Elsinore had a Arenacross track for a while, like a proper Arenacross track.
I don't know if it was there at the time, but there was another track. I forget. Rhino had the facility for a little bit. The place past Cajon, I forget what it was called.
Oh, Rhino Land, or
it was Rhino Land at a point, and then
ranch maybe.
Yeah, something like that. But
Mark
they
Peters had it for a while.
Yeah, so he actually gave me a good deal to go ride there. So I was like going there a bunch to ride, because it was just whatever's financially sound for me, I'm gonna do it. Yep. So I went there and rode and just like tried to put in as many laps as I could. But dude, an Arenacross track and a Supercross track are a lot different, especially your proper
dirt, right?
Arenacross.
You get into that dirt, it's always so sticky.
Yeah,
and your bike doesn't want to turn, and you got to deal with ruts, and we don't have any of that out here.
Yeah, I just remember like I got to ride press day, thankfully, and that gave me like a little taste of just like,
okay. Like, oh man.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh boy, like the whoops were ginormous. Oh my gosh. Like I just remember the first one I did was actually the best one I could have ever went to, because it was in a bigger event center or something. Okay. So like it wasn't your standard layout.
Oklahoma maybe?
It was in Colorado, but I forget the venue we had, but it was a little bit bigger. Okay. So like it wasn't your standard
horseshoe, like
little teeny. We had an extra lane, and it went like through some of the barracks. So then when you came back in, it was a double in and then a set of whoops. And I remember just jumping the double and having no clue what to do, and I just like tried to go through a set of whoops, like proper Arenacross whoops, and just held on for dear life, and somehow I made it through. So it was just like
only 20 more laps.
Yeah, I remember it's just the whoops were gnarly every single weekend, and I was not good in whoops, which was ironic, because my huge weakness in Arenacross against the guys was whoops, and then when I'd go race against the women, my huge advantage was the whoops. So I was terrible against the men in them, but great against them in the women's. But they weren't that big at X Games. They were small, and they were built backwards, so they were super easy.
Gotcha.
But at Arenacross, they're just walls.
They're massive.
Yeah.
It's like they almost tempt you to jump through.
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and every single lap, which came very quickly, so every about 20 seconds, come around, and I'd be like in the right gear, I'd be in fourth, and I'd like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And then I'd look at the walls that are just 15 walls just staring down this tight lane. I'm like, nope, shifting down and jumping.
It's so hard to commit.
Oh,
right?
yeah, especially with no speed coming in, and just like, even if I did commit, it was rare that I made it to the end.
Yeah.
So it was definitely tough. So if I didn't have, I knew every single weekend I had to do what the big boys were doing, which was the 3-3 in the middle lane. And the 3-3s were gnarly. Like coming out, seat bouncing on a hope and a prayer that you're going to get far enough in. And I just did that because I couldn't hit whoops.
So you were the first girl to qualify for an Arenacross main event?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Night
like
show
kind
and
of
main event.
all of the above. I don't think anyone even, or any woman
Did that happen
raced.
in that first season?
I was making night shows every single weekend.
Okay.
But main events were a different story. And the main events, you had to make it into a main to get some points to score for your pro license in Supercross. So like it was actually really hard at that time. So I was just on the cusp every time, just like close but not there in the LCQs.
Was this like the Demuth era? I'm trying to think of who was winning.
Demuth was there. Bowers was already doing a couple championships in. Daniel Blair was in there. Zach Ames. A lot of like good guys were in that class. They had a 250, 450 class, but I think at the time, or no, when I first started, there was a 250 and a 450 class. Later on, they dropped it to all 250s and a premier and a lights per se class, but it was all 250s. But yeah, at the beginning, it was I would just race the 250 class, but there were still just gnarly guys in there. So I mean, yeah, just a pretty. I think that was also when Arenacross was at its prime, getting a good TV package and it was just a lot of gnarly guys.
Yeah, it really, from maybe like 98 through this window there. Once Demuth and Bowers kind of dropped out, it seems like it
fizzled. I think it had
really
maybe 1 or 2 more years of like pretty decent, and then it kind of fizzled out from there.
You pivoted out again.
I know. I don't know how I do it. I've never even thought about it. Now that you said it, I'm like, how do I do that?
Your timing is just great.
Yeah.
So tell me, how'd that first season go? You were making all the night shows. No mains that year? The first year?
No, I made some mains.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start the series start to finish. I think I didn't start the series until like middle of the year.
Okay.
So I was kind of late to the game.
That makes it tough too. Everyone else is already in a rhythm.
But I do remember like that's when like I started like getting the looks and like, what's this chick think she's gonna do out here? Like, this is no joke, because like you said, it's just street fight on wheels. Like it is a full brawl.
Yeah.
I would get T-boned for second to last place. Like all the time.
Well, so one of my good friends is the original swap is Chad Pedersen. I don't know if you're familiar with that name, but he was really good in Arenacross back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I watched him. This is how tight the tracks are and how open the turns are. He was coming out of a turn, and some guy was coming into the corner to try to block past him, and they hit heads, and he got knocked out.
No way.
In a corner, he clacked heads with another guy.
That's
and knocked
insane.
Him out. So, yeah, I always had a real healthy respect for it after that.
I didn't. I knew what I was like trying to get into, but like I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And I just like, I figured if I was in like second to last place, I was kind of safe. Nope.
Nope.
You're not safe, like literally anywhere. Like start to finish, you're not safe.
Did you ever get blown off the track?
I got blown off the track. I hit people off the track. Like I just like, it taught me a lot of how to be like an aggressive rider, because that was the only option.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to get by someone, you got to hit them. Like there's no like, oops, excuse me, like I'm going to show you my front wheel or my elbow. Like no, you got to make contact.
It's very rare you can make a clean pass.
No, it's
like
it's
set them up and
near
actually
impossible,
make it. It's like,
because it's completely one lined. If you're lucky, you get 2 ruts in the corner, but there's a couple corners, so it's just, it was super hectic, and I already was like just struggling to survive in whoops, and then trying to be competitive and just learn all this stuff at once, and it was insane, but it was probably one of the best things I've ever done, and I think the best time of my life was getting to like be on Babbitt's with Bowers, Zach Ames, and Colt Nichols. And
Colt was on that team?
Yeah, like when Colt needed to get his license, he was on Babbitt. So like us, we were just a couple of idiots just giggling 24/7 about just like, it was just so fun.
Yeah.
Like I was just in the best environment, and like I wasn't doing that great on the track. I was actually struggling quite a bit. And but I was having so much fun with those guys, and they were teaching me so much, and just getting to like learn from them like made a huge difference of like, how to like survive and like do things the right way. And like it's when they think about Arenacross, it's like chess to them, and like how they make passes on their strategies and just listening to them about it, I'm like, geez, like I got none of that.
Well, it's so technical. Like you probably learned a lot of bike skills in those years.
Yeah, I mean, you're in like hockey arenas. Like you could throw a rock one end to the other, and we're just on gnarly bikes trying to go back and forth in between stuff. So it's definitely super hectic. And like I said, like I just wasn't good at whoops. I feel like I was getting worse, not better. And the whoops were just getting gnarlier. So I just like, I knew like if I wanted to make it in, like I had to do the triples. There was no other option. And they were just so gnarly. And you just like whoops or ruts up the face, landing in ruts. And just like, it was just like a hope and a prayer every time. And it was just, and every 20 seconds you had to do it again.
I remember even the catapult, the finish line jump at times. I'm like, really? I mean, like you come out of a turn, corner, it's wide open, and you land at the other end of the stadium, into a corner.
Dude, super insane. So I was just pure chaos the whole time, but it was fun.
One thing I remember, at least during the times when I had gone and done some, was, it's very competitive on the track. Guys will smash into each other, buddies even. Mm-hmm. And during the race, like I've seen fights go on and dudes are yelling at each other. And then like once the race is over, hey man, where are we going to dinner? All of the drama's gone.
Yeah.
And everybody hangs out. And it's like this Arenacross
little family. Yeah.
And I'm like, this is
very weird.
Yeah. But cool.
Yeah. It was like that for me too. I remember, like I said, some dude just T-boned me. And like the mechanics just start, like a full brawl like happened. And I'm just like sitting there looking. I'm like, it's white flag, but I kind of want to watch this.
Yeah.
So I come back around. They're still fighting, like just mechanics, just going everywhere.
From guys who took you out?
Yeah, the altercation of like, they're like, why would you T-bone a girl for 7th place, and just like freaking out. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then sure enough, they're at the dinner table across from us, like, what's up? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's a weird little family, but
absolutely,
it's pretty cool too. All right, so the following year, you get on with Babbitt's. How did that season go? You said you're getting worse than the whoops, but like, were you getting better with your positioning and stuff like that?
Yes and no. I mean, my ultimate goal was to go there and like get experience and get my men's license. But I'd always come in. The first year I came in and was already like 2 behind. So I think you needed 65 points your first with that system, and I got like 43 with only half the year. So I was like, oh, I can do this. And then the next year I ended up getting hurt, and I only did a couple races. So I was just like, all right, well, we're here for just to show face and kind of just get some experience going. And then it wasn't till like the last year I went, and that was actually Tyler's last year as well, before he moved on to PC. And we were just all there. Like I said, I was actually struggling because there were so many more people. Like I didn't get any worse, but there were just so many more people, because that's when Feld started pushing that as the only way to get your license. So now it was, I mean, there were so many people, like split practices of like 4 groups for one class. So it was hard just to even get night shows in at this point. And so it was just like, I was just getting like frustrated every single weekend, because I was like just a little bit, but like once again, I'm not like a sprinter. Like I can do 30 laps at my pace and be totally fine and be mistake free. But the minute I got a sprint, I'm like dabbed foot, messed up, and it just like carries through. So I struggled quite a bit with that 1 lap, lap time sprint to get speed in. And that was just where that started getting to be my downfall of like, even with Tyler helping, like Bowers helping me with like just little tricks of the trade to put in fast laps, I'm just like, man, I just can't get it. So it was definitely really frustrating, because once I was in, like I was competitive and good because I could, do multiple laps and be fine and be competitive. But just that 1 lap, it got me in Supercross too.
Yeah, well, I got out of racing before they implemented that. I would have been terrible. I can't do that.
Yeah, I have
to race. I have to do. I'm a good starter, and I'm good at strategy over so many laps, right?
Yeah.
So it's different.
Yeah, I mean, and especially like either Supercross or Arenacross is 30 seconds lap time tops. So like your average dude can put 30 seconds of their life together.
Yeah, you can hold your breath
and just hold her wide and somehow make it start to finish. But if you watch their second lap, they just almost went off the track and died. And so like I just like couldn't get myself to be that sprint speed of just wide open because I was too I wanted to be precise and consistent.
I would like to see that whole system, Supercross, everything, go to your average of your 3 best laps.
Yeah.
Right? I think that would be
cool.
Better.
Yeah. Because like I said, like even in Supercross, like the dudes who would beat me on lap times to get in, but then we'd go and race, like they couldn't do 2 laps like that. They could only do the 1. So it was definitely frustrating those years because there was a lot of disappointment and failure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's hard. I mean, like you said, you get more as they're pushing people to that series.
Yeah.
You expect to come in and go, okay, I should be getting better. Yep. And there's more competition.
Yeah. Now I'm getting worse and struggling just to be there. So it was crazy.
2012, that year though, you did win your second gold at X Games. How was that one?
It was...
Any different? Anything stand out from that year?
I mean, almost it was like a little bit more pressure.
Did you run the number 1?
Yeah, I did.
Look at you.
It was like the coolest feeling ever to be able to have a number 1 play. Like I've up until that point never had it. I got a 4, I got a 6, I got a couple numbers, but I never had the 1. So it was super cool to be able to come there with that 1 plate. But it was also
a little heavy.
Yeah, it was that I've never experienced that of like, oh, now like I got to back it up, and like all the eyes went to me of like what we're doing, and like Hamlin had like the way the start system was, it was like elevated and on like wood almost. It was just no traction.
I'm trying to think of that year. Was it at LA again in 12?
It was at the Staples Center now.
Or Home Depot Center.
Was it Home Depot Center or Staples Center?
Staples is tiny. The Home Depot Center was the one with the open air.
And then I think it was Staples Center.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty small in there. So it was like I was at home because that's what I've been riding for Arenacross and stuff. But I mean, when I was racing Arenacross, I was a pretty small fish in a big pond, and now I'm supposedly the big fish in the little pond. Yeah, so I was like, there's a lot of pressure. And just the way the track was, like I was gelling, I think that year I found like I had a 3 in that no one else was doing. And I was like, but it was kind of consequential and it was kind of tough to do. So I did it for my fast lap and got, fastest lap. And then I just held on to it because I was like, I don't want to risk it unless I need it. And sure enough, I didn't even need it. So it was great. It was best case scenario and just got the whole shot and checked out. So it was like blown away. Like it was just a lot of pressure that I wasn't used to of just normally I'm just like the underdog just chilling. And now I'm like the one everyone's looking at and seeing what I'm doing so they can do it too. And just like a different experience because I've never had anyone like look at me for like that leadership type stuff because of whatever I'm doing is obviously working. So they need to do it too to have that same advantage. So it was just trippy because I'm like, why are they all staring at me? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's interesting. Were you a monster rider at the time?
I was through Babbitt's, but just through like the team stuff.
Okay.
I think the season had already ended, so I was kind of like back to being like a privateer. But the team was still super helpful and helping me with whatever I needed too. Okay. So
I just wondered if they did anything interesting for their athletes at that event. Like, did you have any sponsors do cool stuff for it?
Not at the time. I think I was Thor back then, or for X Games at that point, and for the second year, and they get like I got gear that wasn't released yet and stuff like that. So it was like I was starting to see like these special privileges that we get in the industry, and it was just super cool. Like the gear didn't even fit; it was like the wrong size.
You're like,
and it's it was super baggy, and I was just like, I don't care. Like this is sweet, and it was just a cool colorway, and I was stoked. So I was just getting like those little things of just like it kind of like correlates to just your hard work kind of paying off, just to get those little presents here and there too.
Well, even the way I thought X Games was always interesting because it's so built for TV, right? Like. I remember being on the grid and they'd be like, all right, start them up. And then, all right, never mind, shut them down. We're going to go to commercial. And you're like,
that's tough.
Bro, I'm in leathers. Like I'm sweating like a greased monkey over here.
Yeah, that was...
and they're not worried about like the stands. The fans are just, and the rider and the athletes are kind of secondary. It's
Yeah.
just all about the TV package. I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. But the athlete lounge, like you could go in there
so
all day
cool.
and get food,
Yeah.
and I think they had massage tables at one of them. Like they just took good care of you.
And you got like a welcome pack of just
Yeah.
like goodies and things like that from the event sponsors. But yeah, like you said, like that light switch you have to like turn on and off because the TV is like was so different. Like I'm not super used to it. Like I got a taste of it. So I think I had more experience of it because of Arenacross, where they're like, and it's 5:05 go.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if I was ready or not.
Right.
It was like there was a schedule to abide by. So it's kind of gnarly, especially when you get into like the freestyle side of things.
So that's what I was going to ask you. That for racing, it's one thing. I mean, we've all had times where you're on the line and someone's bike doesn't start, so you're sitting there waiting or whatever.
Yeah.
But for freestyle, when you're mentally getting ready to do a trick or a run, and then it gets yeah, hold on a minute.
Sorry, commercial
You'll go
break.
Sometimes
even though you're warmed up, your bike's ready, like you're ready to go,
Yeah.
and they're like, sorry, we got to go to commercial.
is that hard? I mean,
Yeah.
Harder.
Oh yeah, like I mean, it's just imagine. I mean, I was never in like the gnarliest point of it, but through like choreographed freestyle shows and things like that, you get a big taste of it, and that's like the same pressure because it's a live show. So like it's pretty gnarly to be like and go now and do this trick.
Yeah.
So like it gets gnarly.
So like
but-
Nitro Circus, is that what you're talking about? That kind of stuff?
Yeah, I did. I think my first ever show was Masters of Dirt for like a choreographed show, and I remember like they had a huge like piece of paper for us to all look at, and you had to be in order and doing a certain trick, and I'm like, oh boy. Like I've
learning
never
the
done
script.
this. Yeah. So like you got to memorize who to go with and then what trick to do. Or if you're doing sequence or side by side stuff, you got to find your partner and like pure chaos in the dark in the back. So like just kind of gnarly stuff. So like thankfully like I've been slowly warmed up to it, but I didn't really get to experience anything gnarly because I did like best whip, but it's just whips. So it's
Yeah.
not like super pressure, but like still a good amount for what X Games is and what you're competing with. But yeah, it gets so gnarly with like choreographed shows. Now I'm totally used to it, but even if you see like certain people for X Games, like that's so gnarly to do, is just turn your brain off when they tell you to, and to do like for best trick or something, and you're like, oh
Yeah, because you almost like, your focus has to really sharpen up and you kind of get into that mental space, and then, okay, never mind. And you're
Yep.
like, okay, come down.
yeah.
Okay, back up. I mean, it's just hard.
Yeah, it's not something like anybody thinks about. And even like newcomers that go to X Games, even now, like you see a lot of the kids who haven't been to X Games before, like they kind of not choke, but they're just not used to it. But it's like it's super gnarly, especially if like you're there like for X Games. It means you're doing the gnarliest tricks known to man, and now you have to do them on cue whenever they're ready, not when you're ready. So it's a super high pressure in a sense that no one really even thinks of.
Yeah, I agree. It's wild. I'm glad to hear you think the same thing, because I was hoping it wasn't just me.
No, it's super gnarly. I have so much respect for a lot of riders that just can go on the spot and just turn their brain off.
Well, I think about Pastrana, like when he was going to do that double backflip and how long that whole run up took. And he talked about it. There's all these stops and starts, and like you're doing something that is like, gnarly. I don't know if you've ever done it to dirt, right? Like, so I don't know. It's just the stress of that would be.
Yeah, tricks on demand is pretty gnarly, but it's crazy now, like thinking back to where I was like, oh, this is kind of gnarly. But now it's like I do it all the time, and like we don't even need practice half the time. Like sometimes we get rained out or we're traveling from somewhere to the next and we just don't even get practice in, and we just do our tricks on demand in the show for like, demos and stuff like that. And it's just like you find that mental space and you can kind of just switch to it. So it's super nice.
Yeah, you've learned to tap into it without having to really think about it. You got Epstein-Barr kind of in this window of time.
Yeah,
right?
my first Supercross season was when I developed Epstein-Barr. So
was that 13 then or 12?
I think my first year was 13.
Okay.
I think I did either 13 or 14 was my first year. Yeah.
Okay. So we hear. I want to ask you about what your experience was like with that. We hear about that in moto all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody starts doing bad, and it's like, oh, I got Epstein-Barr.
Yeah.
Or I got chronic fatigue.
And that's when it was happening a lot. It was like a lot of racers I noticed were going to that, and they're like, I have Epstein-Barr, I'm not going to race anymore. And I'm like, okay.
Or I'm not going to do the nationals.
You don't
It's
feel
like...
good? Okay, like sure.
But it's
Dude,
real.
It's no joke.
It's gnarly. Tell us about it.
Oh man, I had no clue what was going on, and like I said, that was the time where I was getting a lot of failures and like defeats and not getting what I expected from the work I put in. So if I were to go race, I didn't make it in. Well, I'm fired up, and what am I going to do on Monday? I'm going to work even harder. So I was digging myself a big hole, and at the time I was kind of short-handed for a mechanic and stuff, so I was doing all the work. I was like taking my suspension in, practicing, making sure the practice bike was ready to go, building the race bike at the same time. So it was like there was a lot on me that was behind the scenes. So I was sick before we even started, but I just had no clue, and my schedule was insane. Probably not the best idea, but it was just, you never turn down media, but I was doing media for 17 rounds. I did media every single Supercross.
And that's like 4 in the morning.
4 in the morning till
Fridays, right?
Thursdays too. So we were flying in on Wednesday night and then waking up at 4 in the morning on Thursday, doing media all day, and then doing a little bit more on Friday, early morning, and then doing like tech and stuff, racing Saturday, and then fly home Sunday. And I was doing East Coast, so I was going back to California. So I don't know how like I didn't crumble sooner, but yeah, I was just digging myself a big hole, and it just started affecting me in like super weird ways of, I was at a practice track, and I just like came up to the face of a triple, and I like didn't know it was a triple, and just like couldn't remember what was even on the other side. Like I was just fatiguing out so bad. And I just like, I'm like, I can't ride today. And then they started coming more and more of like, dude, I can't ride today. And then I would show up on Saturdays, and like some days I could put it together. Other days, like I was like fighting just to like stay out there because I just couldn't do it.
So at what point did you go to the doctor and go, hey, something's off?
Not until like towards the end. Like I said, I was just getting mad and working harder, and then it wasn't doing much. But we did like some tests and stuff the following year. But the first year it was like, I think right before New York Supercross, which was like the second to last round. And I was just like, I finally got results back from Navarro, and he's like, dude, you have like Epstein-Barr, like gnarly, like they just stopped counting because it's so high off the charts. Oh, wow. And he was like, he's like, you can race, but like just be careful. Like he's like, when you have Epstein-Barr, your spleen enlarges, so it sticks out of your rib cage. So if you hit your like stomach on the handlebars, you can like it'll burst. So he's like, put a chest protector on if you're gonna race or go ride, and be careful. And so I did it anyways, and ironically enough, I like gelled super well with the track in New York, like, but I just struggled to like figure out the track and the time they gave us pretty much, like no matter like sick or not, like I just struggled with that. Like if I had enough time on the track with press day, it was like a huge help. So like I wasn't gonna not like do press day because I was tired. So I'm like, I need the time on the track as well. Like I definitely needed it. And New York, I like loved that track. I gelled with that track the best. And I was like just right there off. Same thing I think with Indianapolis, just super close on the tracks that I got to gel with the best. But just still didn't make it in all year. And then just started doing, after that, I did nothing until Vegas.
And you were making night shows, right?
I wasn't even making night shows in Supercross yet. I was just on that bubble of just like, I was almost like an alternate all the time. Okay. Like the kid that had to go to the starting line in gear and then go back and change because they didn't make it in. And it was kind of frustrating. But Vegas, I was able to last race.
This was 2013, right?
Yeah, I believe
Vegas
so. 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. It was literally Vegas last round. And I'm like, well, I think it was like Kyle Peters or something. I let him by, and I just tried to hang on to him. Like, I mean, he was pulling me, but I was just like, I'm just going to try and hang on. And like that little bit just got me in. Just having someone to kind of try and latch onto, and I'm like, why didn't I do this from the start?
And it's the best way to pick up your speed is just jump in behind someone faster and go, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah,
right? Like he breaks here, I'm breaking here.
But it was so tough because, dude, trying to get a fast lap in, especially if you're in C or B practice.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, it's a challenge on its own to get one lap that's even clear. So it's it's not easy. So I was already struggling with that, trying to find a gap and trying to do sprint laps, which I'm not good at, and then trying to figure out these tracks in like 10 minutes. So
and
it's
the
just
whoops,
and the whoops are just still not helping. So it was definitely tough, but I was just super thankful I was able to get in Vegas. And
so take me through that experience. I mean, you come off from qualifying. Who told you that you made it, or how did you know?
I think it was, I forget who was there waiting. I think it was somebody from Feld or something like that.
Oh, yeah?
And they were at my pit. And I was talking to my mechanic. It was Frankie Garcia at the time. He stepped in to help me that year. And I just see the dude just like this. And I'm
guy?
like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, we did it finally. And it was literally like, I had like nothing left, no energy. Like I was like tanked.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe I finally did it. Like it was like a whole year of just suffering, or a whole season of suffering, trying to get just like past this stupid little bubble I was on and just get a split second faster.
Do you know what bums me out about this story is that it was Vegas, because it's not the real experience.
No, it's not.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
if you know that the way that stadium worked, the start's on the outside, like Anaheim or one of these other stadiums where you roll down the tunnel, you're out in it. Like it would just been
Yeah, I know. I was thankful to at least make it in, and just like, I guess we can go back to our, like, somehow I have like the best timing in the world. I think it was my heat race. Muskin was winning, and he came around. I was the only one that didn't, like, he was coming around to lap me, but he got the checkered and I got the white. So I was literally like the last one not to get lapped. And so I pretty much had a whole lap by myself.
To yourself.
And I came down Monster Alley and I realized, like, I'm like, he literally like pulled off the track right behind me. And I'm like, I guess I keep going. And so I just was like, yeah, no one's going to pass me, so I'm just going to have some fun. So I just literally lifted the front wheel and just did a wheelie all the way down Monster Alley. And the entire crowd was just cheering as loud as they possibly could. They're losing their mind. And I was like, this is so freaking cool. Like, they're screaming at me and I can hear them over a dirt bike, and just, they were stoked. And I'm like, this is insane.
Because I'm sure the announcers were playing up. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't hear announcers or know what TV's doing, but I could just hear the crowd screaming the whole way down Monster Alley into the next corner, and it was just like, man, that was like, that made it at least, you know? Like, I think I was literally
Did you
like...
throw a whip over the finish? Like, or were your whips dialed in back then?
I mean, the jumps were pretty hard on 250s, so there was like limited whippage, but I think a couple rounds, like, I was just having fun, or like media days were like fun to just toss them around, but yeah, it was a tough one to do.
Those seasons of like when you were doing Supercross, were you still doing, or when you were doing X Games, were you doing just racing, or were you also doing best whip and freestyle?
I did best whip in 2013, I believe.
Okay.
I started doing that, and that just came from, like, I threw like a pretty good whip off the finish line, just like I was stoked, so I just like threw a whip, and then everyone's like, dude, you should do best whip, it was so sick. And like looking back, I was like, now looking back at it, I'm like, dude, that wasn't a good enough whip to try and get into best whip, but sure.
Well, was that the year Hanny won?
I competed the year Hanny won. Okay. I think that was 13. Yeah, 13. And,
well, he was like upside down. I mean, his are ridiculous. That was like maybe the best whip still ever.
To this day, absolutely. And
maybe Jared. There's a couple guys that have pulled some.
Yeah, that one
was insane.
That one was dirty, but it was funny because for whatever reason, I don't know if it was like scheduling or what, I didn't compete, or I didn't do practice with all the guys in best whip. They let me do it by myself, and I wasn't like that good with ramps yet, and like I normally speed check someone, and I was just like, they put me on the spot. And it was such a tight run-in. Like, and I was on a 250F at the time. That was in the
Staples Center.
Yeah, and I was on a 250F at the time, and the ramp was set at 72. And I remember first run, I cased it and tipped over. And I'm like, great, good start.
Second or third then for that? Third?
I was second clicking third on a 250F. Okay. So, like, I needed, like, some room. They didn't have any room. It was set at 72. We normally set it at 75. And they're like, well, everyone else wants to push it back, so ride it and let us know what you think. And I'm like, dude, I can't make it any farther. Like, I'm like struggling to make the distance, let alone try and whip off the thing. I was like stressing. And
the last thing you want to do is dead sailor. Like, just to clear.
I know. And I felt so bad because everyone's like, the dudes after X Games were like, oh yeah, the boys want to push it back. And I'm like, and they're like, if you agree, we'll push it back. And I was like, I can't. Like, I was the one that was that person.
If you would have maybe dropped a couple teeth or added a couple teeth, could you have stayed in second or got third easier?
Probably, but I had the same bike I was riding for that was for Supercross. So it was set up that was like Supercross gearing. So it was tough. Like, if I would have dropped probably to like maybe an outdoor gearing, it would have held second. But I was running a 53 on a 250F. So I was like, no chance of like pulling second. So I just had to like hope for like literally every time they had like a little berm, and I just tried to carry some momentum and just like, oh dude, it was so hard. And I was just like, man, I'm trying the best I can do. And I remember I'm like, don't look at the screen. I'm like, don't look at it. And then I think 3/4 of the way through, I like glanced up at it, and I'm like, had to look again, and I like had my name highlighted like for the top 3, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no, this is not right. And I just started panicking. And I'm like, what? I like couldn't believe. I'm like, that has to be wrong. Like this, there's no way. And I'm like, all right, just try. And I was trying to like refocus and reset, but I'm just like fully like panicking now. I'm like, this is no way. And I think I was in second for a while. And then it like towards the end, I like started panicking and doing worse, and that probably didn't help. But then Hanny threw that huge whip, and as he should have got the gold, and then I ended up getting third.
That's
so I was
crazy.
like, I was
Still,
just
third
like,
is like,
yeah. I mean, it was.
Who was 4th and 5th and 6th? Do you remember?
I know Nate Adams was in there. Dude, Bo Bamberg, I think. Like, dude, gnarly guys. It was literally Hanny, Jeremy, and then me, and I was like, what? I was just like mind blown, like just an experience that I never thought it would go that way.
That's awesome. Were you at that time? Were you riding with Twitch and those guys, like prepping for this?
A little bit at the time.
This was kind of before them.
At the time, they would come. I was practicing with Ronnie Feist a lot. He had like a speed and style course, and that's when speed and style was like, you know, at its prime as well. And so like he was like, yeah, come out and cruise out. You can ride the ramp and train at the same time. And sure enough, like it was just like probably one of the best tracks to be able to practice on, because it was literally like a mini X Games course, just more obstacles. So it was like prime time to be able to practice there. So I got to know that's kind of more of like getting to ride with those guys, and they would come out and ride. And like Feist House was like one of the spots to ride at too. So it was.
I'm trying to think of where that was out here.
I think it's like what is it, Viney's Ranch or whatever.
Oh,
that's what his spot.
Right. Okay.
So he had like a speed and style course and then some ramp stuff in the middle, but his track was gnarly. Like it wasn't like demanding, but there was no place to rest. There's no triple, and there's no catapult, no finish line, stuff like that. So it was like you were learning. Yeah, I was learning how to breathe in the rhythm section. So it was like super helpful, because like I said, there was nowhere to like, okay, let's do another lap. It was just, you just learned in the rhythm sections to start breathing, and like in the corners to start breathing. And even Laninovich, when he had this little comeback there, he was riding there all the time, and he's like, if you learn how to breathe on this track, you'll do really well. So like that was just a good layout and just a good atmosphere to be able to like have like the best tools to use.
That's something people don't really think about when they talk about how hard Supercross is the breathing. Like we'll hear about it a little bit, but you're pretty much holding your breath through the whoops.
Oh yeah.
Every time, every lap.
You're holding your breath everywhere if you're me.
Yeah. And so, you know, like you have to find places, whether it's the finish line, a start straight, a triple even, like where you can just go all the way in, all the way out. And that, if you can learn to do that, it'll bring your heart rate down 5-10 beats,
which is a big deal.
Just huge.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it just keeps going.
Oh yeah.
Until
and you just, exactly. So I was that taught me a lot. And dude, even doing like 5 laps consistently was tough. Like when we first started on the track, I was like, man, like in all the tight sections, like it was a tight course, and then you really had to work to like get over stuff. Like 450 was all right, but 250F, like I was working to get over some obstacles, and I remember like my legs were just so tired, and just like muscles you don't use in motocross just really come out in that type of riding.
Wasn't speed and style like only a couple of laps or something?
Yeah, normally it was only, I think speed and style was like 3 or 4. But I think our racing was like 7 or 8. So we had a little bit more because we weren't doing, it wasn't tricks involved. Because I couldn't imagine trying to do tricks with arm pump.
Well, that's speed and style always seemed weird to me because it's like you're trying to race and then you'd have to slow down, check up and do a trick. I'm like,
it's insane, but it's so cool like to be able to do. Like, it's just like a fun, flowy thing, but to race it, I don't know, it'd be too gnarly.
Yeah, the riding is great, thing, but when you're racing...
if anyone like that knows how our bikes are set up, they're not designed to do anything but go straight and hit a ramp.
They don't corner.
They do not corner, and like most of us have flip levers on that like bump around. They don't stay down. If you hit a bump, they kind of like move.
Yeah.
And, dude, it's just our bikes are not designed to do anything, but I call them point and shoot bikes. That's all they're good for.
Yeah. Well, it's like setting them up for straight rhythm.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can go way stiffer because you don't have to worry about it settling in.
Yeah, packing and all that stuff. So yeah, ours are point and shoot bikes. And
so you guys weren't adjusting for that, like getting.
They might have, but I wasn't doing any speed and style. They still had like women's motocross, but that was the same time around. Like I was practicing and training a lot with Ronnie at his compound because he was getting ready for speed and style.
Gotcha.
So we did just a lot of training together.
Okay. He's another great guy.
Huge.
There's a lot of really good dudes in freestyle.
They just have a rough background that's unfortunately been videotaped.
If you just watch videos, like whether it's from going back from Krusty all the way through, so I say this about Twitch all the time. Like, he is to me the model of you can't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you saw him all like, head back, looking all thick, all his tattoos, you'd be like, yeah, this guy's terrifying.
Yeah, lock your car.
He's the sweetest dude, right?
Oh, yeah.
Once you get to know him.
Yeah, absolutely. But they were all like that, too.
Yeah.
Like,
same with Ron. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I remember being so intimidated to go to Todd Potter's compound for the first time because I think it was around the same time, like, that Stuart had his little, like, MTV thing going on.
Okay.
And I remember seeing, like, Todd go up to Stuart and be like, don't even bother trying to, like, go to best whip. And he's like, I'm going to take all, like, that you know how to do. And just, like, this gnarly dude. And seeing all the videos that come about of, like, the freestyle world. And I remember being so nervous to go to, like, Potter's compound for the first time. And then he walks up and he's like, hey, what's up? I'm Todd. And I'm like, oh. Okay. And sure enough, like, he's once again like one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. Same thing with Ronnie and Jeremy. Like, they'll give you their shirts off your back,
Are there any of them that are not? Any of them that are actually dicks that we don't know about? Well, we don't want to probably.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to call them out.
I think we talked about one earlier. All right. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. This is your TLD timeout. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back to finish up here with Vicki Golden.
Dunlop. There is a reason every AMA championship in the past decade was won on Dunlop tires. They are the best. Choose the best performing tire and a brand that has never wavered in their support of our sport. Choose Dunlop. Pro Circuit. Pro Circuit products are designed with one goal in mind: winning. Through passion and hard work, Pro Circuit has operated the most successful 250 team in the history of the sport. They use that same formula when developing exhaust, engine, and suspension parts for every brand. When only the highest level of performance is acceptable, trust Pro Circuit.
Since 2009, Seat Concepts has been dedicated to making the best aftermarket seats. More comfort, more grip, more riding. For 10 years, we've continued to raise the bar. Innovation and American craftsmanship make Seat Concepts the world-leading manufacturer of power sports seats.
Something from nothing. That's what Nihilo Concepts is about. It starts with a spark, an idea, a concept, which leads to a design, and finishes with engineered excellence with the highest quality products created with durability in mind. All our products are made in the USA at our state-of-the-art facility in Stuart, Florida. Whether you are a weekend warrior, ride for fun, or at the highest level of competition, Nihilo Concepts offers innovative titanium, aluminum, and carbon fiber parts for your dirt bike. We offer a wide variety of products that you can customize to your liking. Browse our site for foot pegs, brake tips, engine components, specialty tools, frame grip tape, lever grips, carbon fiber components, motor stands, our secondary on-switch, plus much more. Head to NihiloConcepts.com and see for yourself why factory teams like Red Bull KTM, Rockstar Husqvarna, Troy Lee Designs Gas, Orange Brigade, Club MX, KLM Gas, and some of the fastest riders in the world choose Nihilo Concepts.
Since 1987, Coach Rob has been dedicated to creating durable motocross, supercross, GNCC, and road racers through his complete racing solutions program, integrating performance, nutrition, functional strength, flexibility, and mental development. His proven system has world-class results, producing 4 AMA #1 Pro Plates and over 270 national championships. The complete racing solutions program focuses on the fundamentals of human physiology and how riders interact with the physics of a motorcycle. Its proven process and system helps riders understand the why associated with riding technique, and how getting faster on a motorcycle directly correlates with strength, endurance, nutrition, and flexibility off the bike. There is a difference between a fast racer and a complete racing solutions racer. Visit CompleteRacingSolutions.com and get on the path to becoming the champion you want to be. Specialized bicycles. Specialized leads the way in the world of bicycling. Whether it's cross-country racing, downhill, e-bikes, enduro, road, gravel, dual slalom, dirt jumping, or all mountain bikes that do it all, Specialized has the perfect ride for you. The brand is synonymous with engineering excellence and innovation that steers the industry. Visit your local Specialized dealer for a test ride and see just how good Specialized products are.
I try to keep on keeping on.
OGO Power Sports. OGO has perfected the carrying case. Motocross gear bags, helmet bags, boot bags, hydration packs, backpacks, and travel bags, to name a few, have all been meticulously engineered to maximize space and surpass durability standards that would make NASA proud. Simply the best. OGO Power Sports.
Connected. Mesh intercom on.
It's cool to be able to hear what they talk about and how fast they should go, throttle control, braking. Really cool.
Extend your leg out. There you go. Good job. Good throttle control, Lonnie.
That's a great training tool. It was a lot of fun to be on the track with them.
Hey, Lano.
What?
Can you pull off over here when you get to me and your brother?
Okay.
With a rich history in motocross, Pro-X has been dedicated to supplying quality components since 1975. Whether you're rebuilding an engine or just need a new chain, Pro-X Racing Parts aims to bridge the gap between OE quality and affordability. Pro-X has over 9,000 part numbers and over 60 different product types that are manufactured by highly reputable or even OEM suppliers and are offered at affordable prices to help keep riders on the bike instead of in the garage. Visit Pro-X.com to search parts for your bike or check them out at your favorite online or local dealer.
Audio Jungle.
The guys are just breaking in their race bikes, which will leave on the semi this Saturday to go to the first Supercross for our coast in Orlando. So the guys are just be goofing off a little bit, do some cool photos, do some cool videos. When you go racing, you want to do well, but a big key is keeping the bikes on the track. That's why we chose to work with Motul.
Expectations coming in as a rookie is just to try and get my feet wet and honestly just send it, see where I end up and do my best out there, but just ride aggressive and ride like myself in practice and I should have a good time.
Challenges of this sport, I believe, is just simply staying healthy. With how fast we're going and what we're doing, your margin for mistake is really, really small.
Stay Sick. If you have little rippers, then you have had to have seen Stay Sick bikes by now. We have created bike and experiences that allow kids to develop sooner and empower them to find their own ride. From learning to ride to sharpening skills, the Stay Sick Promise is accelerated growth. Whatever path your family chooses, it's going to be the ride of your life. Stay Sick Stability Cycles.
You ever heard the phrase that the harder you work, the luckier you are? Well, at Luck Apparel, they believe in an acronym that kind of sums it up a little more simply than that: laboring under complete knowledge. So it isn't just some random chance that determines what your outcome or results are going to be. It's being educated and working your butt off to get it done. And I think that goes hand in hand with the motocross industry. You don't get lucky into a win. You work your ass off and you make it happen. So check out Luck Apparel. They've got t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, all kinds of cool stuff. And we're stoked to have them on board here at the Whiskey Throttle Show in 2022. Today's show is brought to you in part by ZDMS, the next generation dealer management system for the power sports industry. Designed for large and multi-rooftop dealership operations, ZDMS Business Intelligence harnesses the power of your data for better line of sight into dealership decision making. Pinpoint performance areas of concern where profit is being maximized and opportunities remain. Real-time data visualization combined with drill-down reporting means you can track up-to-the-minute dealership performance across all departments. Unlock stories you never knew existed and meaningful insights into your business. With ZDMS's intuitive, easy-to-use dealer management system, you'll streamline your opportunities and improve communication across your entire dealership with efficient workflows while spending less time behind the counter and more time with your customers. ZDMS understands technology is only as good as the team representing it. With ZDMS's unmatched top-tier support, rest assured your customer experience is part of the package. Every team member in your dealership will have access to a support team ready to assist in any way possible. Change is good. Say goodbye to your legacy DMS software and modernize your operations, minimize costs, improve efficiencies, and make data-driven decisions to increase profitability with ZDMS. Demo at ziidms.com today.
I'm on vacation every single day because I love my occupation. I'm on vacation. If you don't like your life, then you should go and change it.
All right, guys, welcome back. That was your Troy Lee Designs timeout. If you haven't been over to troyleedesigns.com, get over there. They've got all their brand new gear line out for 2023. Some really cool stuff. That paint department's cranking. You can do name and number pretty affordably or go big and get the full custom design, whatever you want. They've got all that stuff ready to go. Mountain bike gear, amazing stuff over there at Troy Lee Designs, so check them out. Vicki, back to your story here. You've really kind of fallen in with Twitch and his whole crew. And I feel like those guys, like we talked about earlier, they've taken you in and been great mentors and friends to you. And how did that kind of happen?
I mean, I've always rode with all of them, you know, just in passing or like seeing them and just here and there because I was like kind of like a full-time racer, and then for fun I would go ride like Fitzpatrick's house and do all that, and so I would just kind of see him every great while. And then I think when I started switching over to more freestyle stuff, it just became more and more natural to hang out with them, and just having people to ride with sometimes is kind of scarce for freestyle some days out here in SoCal. So some days it would just be like me and Jeremy going riding, or I'd go out to Axel. So like it just kind of like turned into like a good group of guys to go ride with. And like when you're already doing similar stuff or getting ready for the same show, you always end up kind of just migrating over. And at the time it was just a lot of riding at Fitzpatrick's to start, and that was like probably the most insane compound out here that we have. So it was just natural for all of us to go out there and ride.
Do you guys still ride there?
I wish we did. There was a lot of insurance issues with the facility, and he kind of moved over to some wedding venue stuff for the facility.
I think he's killing it with the weddings.
And as he should be. Unfortunately, our fund does not pay his bills, the wedding venue makes a little more sense.
Yeah, shoot. Well, you rode at the Sleigh Ground.
Yeah.
That place looks ridiculous. Like I thought, I wonder if I could go out there and jump anything. And I'm watching him. I'm like, nope, no, I'm not going to do that. Nope. I mean, I don't know that I'd jump anything out there.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a while. When he first had it built, we went out there a couple times, and then we actually shot that Juice WRLD commercial out there, or the Juice WRLD music video out there. So we rode out there for that. And since he's built like the big stuff, I don't think I've been out there yet. So Yeah, we have to bring the big girl pants
Do
when
like
I go
that
back
triple
out there.
step up thing?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he only knows one speed, and that's all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got, outside of that, which is a tabletop, a lot of it is just so peaky. It's like you have to be perfect.
Yeah, he's one of a kind, and so he builds stuff that is for him and nobody else really. Him and Tyler is pretty much like the only two that can go out there and just vibe off each other, and you're just like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like sometimes just sitting back and watching those two ride together, you're just like, what are they doing?
I know, it's crazy. But I'm, you know, like, I'm stoked anytime somebody can find a niche and do it like they do, you know, because I remember when Axel was trying to race and his dad was so pissed off about the way Loretta Lynn was, you know, taking our money and you know, he rant and rave, you know, his dad's
standard PH.
character. But I thought, man, I don't know if he's gonna make it in racing, you know, like he just
just a little bit off, not a lot, just a little bit off, like whatever that set pace was. But because I remember racing him in a random Arenacross in Reno, and it was somehow like we both were in the LCQ, and we both lined up, and I lined up next to him, and I don't even think I knew him back then. So I just have this like funny picture of us lined up. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. We were both racers.
That's great. Well, and you know, that's the best prepping for what you're doing now, right? But
hey, it's all bike skill. It's all relative for us. So like any time on the bike for us is well worth it.
One, I feel like it's safer. What you guys do is not safe at all. So at least that racing background gives you some tools to work with to improve your chances of staying healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what was that one dude that used to show up at X Games with like hockey gear and gardening gloves, and he was doing backflips?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I forget his name.
My man was from like Michigan.
I think his name was Scott. I forget his last name for whatever reason, but yeah. But I mean, dude, some freestyle riders are strictly like they're freestyle riders. It's kind of why I don't like to typically put myself in just freestyle rider category, because most freestyle riders, they're point and shoot, and they can't turn, they can't do anything else.
So what do you consider yourself, like free rider?
I would consider myself technically a free rider. I do freestyle shows more than I don't, but I don't know. I just kind of think I'm like, I just do a little bit of everything.
No, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, because I still like to race. I don't get to do it as often, but I still have a moto bike that I like racing. If Fast House has any events like that I can make, I love to go race still. My fitness isn't quite as good as it used to, but I don't know. It's still fun to go race.
But you guys still moto a lot. I just saw you at Kauai this week, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is like, we're in just end of the year stuff, but this is the time we kind of get to relax and enjoy and get to do what we want. Because sometimes like I can ride moto 3 times that week, and then, you know, a month will go by for doing like some shows and other events and stuff like that, or film projects, to where I don't get to moto. So it's super inconsistent of how much I actually get to ride a track, but when I do, I love it. It's so much fun. So I definitely, it brings me back to my roots, and I get to enjoy it.
Especially California winters. In fact, I've been meaning to hit Twitch up, like, hey, you guys going to the hills? Like,
yeah,
want to tag along? And, you know.
Yeah, dude, our trail rides are literally the best thing ever. Like, we just go, and we have a pretty cool loop that we've kind of made. We park at Jeremy's house, and we all ride out from there. And we have a couple tracks that we built out, and we just hit them all and go on a trail ride. And some of it's kind of gnarly. We have like some pretty steep drops where it's just like pretty like tire width track, and it's just cliffs on both sides, and I don't know, it's just fun, but it keeps your skills super sharp, and and we're just laughing the whole time to see like what hills all of us make it up and which ones don't, and see what we can do to make some fun out there.
Are you guys going tomorrow?
Yeah, we are. I think we are. We were supposed to go today, so Jeremy and I think Tyler and his buddy Steve, they all went today, but I didn't get to go today. Probably tomorrow though. They said it was a little slimy, so I don't know if I missed out completely. Yeah.
I'm going to have to send a text, see if I can get an invite. Okay, so into 2014, you're done with Supercross and Arenacross at this point?
Yeah, I did 2 years of Supercross. I didn't do much better the second year of Supercross. Epstein-Barr, I literally spent all summer on the couch sleeping and doing two treatments.
I wanted to kind of follow up on that. So what is that like having that? I mean, explain what that feels like and what...
Man, it's like almost having like a cold or a flu, like on and off, because you get a couple symptoms for a couple days and it goes away and you don't feel like a whole lot better, but the symptoms are gone, but you're still super low on energy. Then they come back and you get different cold or flu symptoms, and it just kind of like bounces around. And then I just started getting like, I couldn't eat. I lost like 20, 25 pounds.
Because you're throwing up, or you just don't feel hungry just because you're nauseous?
I couldn't eat, and if I did, I'd normally just throw up, and like I just like couldn't like get anything like food related down. So I ended up just like trying to like just drink my protein and like trying to get liquids in, basically, because it was just like super lethargic. Like especially when you're already racing and riding, like you don't really want to eat anyways. So it was just like a consistent crappy feeling, and I was literally like, every single sprint lap I tried to do was like 30 seconds in, I'd start like getting super nauseous and like feeling like I gotta throw up, and just like trying to put a lap together to see what I can do. And that was just pretty much my whole Supercross thing, and just wasn't getting the job done. And then we still didn't really know if it was like all Epstein-Barr, so we started doing a lot more tests and getting a lot of scans and procedures done throughout the week, and then still going racing on the weekends. So it was just no fun. It was just like when I would be in the off season, I'd sleep like 20 out of 24 hours a day, like useless. If I'd go outside in the summer, it was too hot, I'd come back inside, like I was like temperature like
real sensitive.
Yeah, I just couldn't do a whole lot. So I was just, the only time I left the house was to do treatments and stuff like that. And it's a slow progress of like trying to get any type of like feeling of life back, really.
And it's a slow dig into that hole too, though, right? Like it's overworking yourself.
Yeah.
Over a pretty long period of time.
Yep.
That takes your immune system down. And
it just starts as you're kind of a little run down or stress, and then you're starting to push. So it's just like pretty much everyday people can easily get this. And at that same time, I was like talking about it with other riders and Navarro, and he was just like, I think we should test for Epstein-Barr. And I'm like, no, that's like what people say when they're just not doing what I'm like, I don't want to be like, I have Epstein-Barr because I'm not doing good. I'm like, I don't want to be that rider. I'm like, there's already 10 of them doing it. I'm like, I can't do it. And that's when, sure enough, the first year he tested me, I'm like, oh, of course. But yeah, it was a tough hole to dig myself out of. It was just, and like when you break your arm, there's a fix. You do surgery, you put a plate in, and then say a month you're back. Yeah. There's no set time frame of like when you're gonna be better or like what you can do to treat it. There's no surgery, there's no
Were they telling you like hyperbaric chamber or
I did hyperbaric chamber, I did blood irradiation therapy, I did IVs like Myers cocktails and like vitamin IVs, and dude, you name it, or I thought of it, like I just was trying everything and anything to really just get some type of feeling of like being normal again.
Nothing was really working out.
Yeah, I dug myself a pretty big hole, and then on top of that, I was still trying to like make a little bit of money, so I wasn't riding at all, but I got an opportunity to go race the Costa Rican Nationals. And I was doing those just once a month, and those were prime summertime, so really humid. So pretty much any progress I even had, it was sucked dry. But I was doing those just to make some money, and it was a great opportunity, so I just didn't want to turn it down. And then I ended up getting a concussion with that, and that's when like my brain just like stopped firing. It was just like a crazy experience of like my brain just not working. And it followed into that following Supercross season.
Just like a fog or what?
Just really bad fog and problems with like my memory to like, it took me a long time because I hit my head good too. Like it wasn't like I wake up, I got a concussion, I'm going to go sit down. It was just like, I was out for a while. I couldn't see straight. Like my vision was pretty much like what I had was like just blurry and like almost gone. So it was just like a rough concussion. So then that definitely didn't help my situation. Wow. So I dug myself a pretty big hole to get out of. And then once I realized all that, it was like, why would I go race? Because I already know the outcome, unfortunately, and what level I want to put, the amount of work I want to put in, and the level I want to compete at. Like, I don't think my body has it, and it doesn't seem like it would. It was just going to be another year of frustration and defeat and failure.
Do they tell you there's a chance like it may never come back?
It depends on what doctor you ask. I did a lot of research of my own and seen a lot of doctors, but from what I understand, is that it doesn't go away. It just goes dormant, and then
it's a virus, right?
Yeah, and then if you're compromised or stressed and just kind of overworked, you get flare-ups basically, and I still get those today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The one thing I've never heard of is that mental.
A lot of
clarity you were talking about, where you get to a trip and you're like.
Yeah, that was the following.
That's scary.
Yeah, the following year was rough because I think, from what I understand, is the virus kind of attacks your weak point. So I created a weak point and it went to that week point. So
you think the
it
concussion
created a lot of issues in my brain when I had bad flare-ups and a bad following year for Supercross. It was just like, dude, I was like tripping because I'd never experienced anything like that. But we got my head scanned and it was clear. So we didn't know.
That's gnarly.
Yeah, just trippy stuff. You don't know what a little virus can do, but and now look what we're at now.
Can change the whole world.
Yeah, exactly.
In 2014, you were nominated for an ESPY, and I thought that's pretty cool. That's something pretty damn rare.
Yeah, that was actually super cool. I had no clue that was even one to be nominated and have the opportunity and just to go experience it was such a cool thing. And I don't know, I think I went with my agent at the time, and she went with me, and we were just tripping. It was so cool. And
who were you seeing in there? I mean, you're seeing all these...
you see a bunch of action sport athletes all dressed up and fancy, which is not normally the case. And then you just see tons of actors, and it's a whole show, obviously. So sit down and get to watch the show, and a bunch of actors, and it just out of your world and out of your element type thing. So no, it was super cool. And
did you get all fancied up in the dress?
Yeah, we got all fancy and traded in the boots and for the day. And yeah, dude, it was such a cool experience just to go there and just spend time. And I think it was towards the end of the year too, so you just kind of get to
let loose.
Yeah, really just enjoy your year and take it all in. It was just icing on the cake.
Well, even getting dressed up, we don't really do that in moto.
Yeah, we don't even have the opportunity for it.
I don't think I've ever had a tux on.
Yeah,
my wedding was about it.
Exactly.
What else stands out from that season for you, 2014?
I mean, really, it was just kind of it was just a pivotal point of making a decision. Really, that was I was just so bummed because I didn't get what I wanted out of Supercross. I really wanted to I think if I were healthy, I could have made a main event and really had all the tools and opportunity and to put myself there. I mean, yeah, I only made 2 nitros, I think, so it doesn't say a whole lot, but I think my potential just wasn't reached compared to especially the work I was putting in and how comfortable I felt at the practice tracks. And my lap times weren't even far off to dudes that were making mains, or they were the same at the practice tracks. But so it was all there, just didn't put all the pieces of the puzzle together. So that was just something I was trying to deal with at the time, of just if I walk away, I'm walking away with something that is basically left on the table that I didn't get to really pursue. On paper, yeah, my goal was to make some night shows, so I did, but I really wanted to try and make that next step into some mains. But I still got a lot more than any other woman did, so I can't really be too upset. But that was kind of the pivotal time.
Still kind of just bugs you a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And it was I just wanted to do some more things and even try and qualify on a 450 and do more things, to where it just kind of got taken away early. It wasn't my decision, so it was a little tougher. But that was kind of the pivotal point of, all right, well, I guess we're gonna cut up some grab holes and shave a seat down. And
sorry, Dad.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how it all went down. It was just all right, well, it's time to pretty much be full time on 450s and learn tricks.
Well, so what was what was the decision maker there? Like, you're having some success at X Games, like bronze in Best Whip, which is crazy. You're kind of hanging out and riding with ramps with these guys more. Were you just like, well, there's money here, there's not really here? I mean, was that kind of the deciding factor? Or what was it?
I mean, I had for a couple of years, because I think in 2011, Matt Byton rented a room for me, and he's like one of the step-up legends of X Games and a great freestyle rider in himself. And I had a lot of like freestyle promoters coming to me and be like, dude, just learn some tricks and I can hire you every weekend. And like, they're just like poking at me when I'm racing. And still, like, I'd go to Fitz's house and go ride and do the ramp and just kind of mess around and have fun. And I just have all these dudes poking me, be like, you know how much money you could make? And I'm just like, yeah, but it's not about money. Like, I want to go racing. Like, I'll do this later type thing. And that was my outlook. I'm like, I know this is where it'll go. It was a little bittersweet to do it so soon. But now it's like roles reversed. I wish I would have started freestyle even sooner, but I wouldn't give up my racing experience for it anyways.
No, and look, maybe, I'm sure that you learned some things in those years that are benefiting you now.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you had gone in sooner, maybe you wouldn't be as good as you are here. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah, it's all it all goes full circle. And I mean, like I said, I would never give up my Arenacross experience or my Supercross experience for an extra year for maybe a couple extra tricks. So I'm stoked with the decisions I've made, and now I get to watch Supercross and look at all the whoops I don't have to hit.
Yeah. They look so small from the stand.
Oh, it's
Does
tiny.
it kind of piss you off a little bit?
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does, especially like some of them where I know they're big, and I see it on TV and they look like anthills, and I'm like,
you're like, you don't know how big those cups are. And then, you don't get it.
But I even did that before when I was racing Arenacross, and I'd watch Supercross on TV and be like, look how small their whoops are. Big, why do we have the big ones and they get the small ones? Which sometimes that was the case.
They got small for a few years there.
Yeah, but no, they were still big when I raced.
I have always said they won't for liability purposes, but let the fans go down and walk the track after the race.
Yeah.
I think it would do a lot for them having respect for what they're seeing.
Yeah, because even in the stands, the tracks are totally different. Even if you're on the bottom row of the stadium, it's completely different. And I mean, especially after the race is over, that's a whole different track. Like they get to see it. Like the best the track will ever be is right when they get there to watch the first heat race. And I would love to ride that track, but after that, I don't know.
No, by the end of the 450 main, it's garbage, and people don't understand even just the breakdown of it, how much more difficult that makes it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrifying.
Tell me about the differences between racing and doing, freeriding stuff, freestyle stuff, like physically and mentally.
I would say it's more mental to do freestyle, mainly because like you can hit a corner 1,000 times, and the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to tip over. You could hit a ramp 1,000 times, but the worst thing that's going to happen is you're up in the air. So like there's only one place to go, unfortunately. So I think the danger level is a little higher. The mental part is definitely a lot higher. But I mean, the intensity is a lot lower, which is why I ultimately decided to switch over, because you really don't have to go to the gym to be a freestyle rider, depending on who you ask anyway. But my training has changed, completely flip-flop. I used to do high intensity circuit training. Now I do everything to build muscle, because unfortunately, like I said, we're going to hit the ground from the air. So you better have some cushion, and the muscle's the best cushion. So I trained to hit the ground at this point. So
flexibility, is that a big deal? It's got to be, right?
Yeah, for me, that's like one of the things I struggle with the most, is just from so many injuries that I am not flexible. So it shows in some of my tricks, and I hate some of my tricks that I do. Like I won't do them at shows, and I just keep practicing them at home because I'm like,
you're all stiff.
Yeah, I'm all stiff, and I like I don't know. I like to like have a clean style of tricks. Like I like to go straight to my trick, hold it extended, like everything like perfectly, like straight up and down, or like wherever the direction is. Like I like it all perfect, and then go back to my bike. I don't like the flaily kicks. I like everything just to be super smooth and just like have good extension. So if I don't do that, I won't do it at shows. So I like my trick list of that. What I do, it's actually pretty big, but what I do at shows is actually pretty small because I'm just like, I don't know. That doesn't look good to me.
Not quite ready.
Yeah, but I don't know. Everyone says they're fine, but I look at them I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, it was actually a super weird transition. One, I finally was like full-time 450s because, like I said, some of these arenas or settings or like wherever you're at, 250s are not the way to go. Yeah. Plus, you need pop, you need airtime. So 250s.
Was that a hard transition for you?
No, I already had one at the time that I was just kind of messing around on and just had it. And then I finally went to full-time 450s because of freestyle and free riding and stuff. It's just easier. And like 250s are, unless you're trying to go racing, they're kind of just not really financially feasible. So it was just all go to 450s. It was just the obvious go-to. So got them set up, and at the time I was Suzuki, so it was easy kind of for me because I just asked. Jeremy was on 450s or Suzuki's too at the time, so I'm like, okay, what do I do to this thing? Because I have no clue. So he told me what gearing to throw on the thing and how to cut everything and like just get it all set up because it's kind of a confusing thing to start off with. So he kind of helped set everything up for me and get me on the right path. But yeah, it was just a weird experience because I remember trying to learn a seat grab for the first time, and I just had to like backpedal even farther and just learn how to jump straight. Yeah. And like use the ramp for what it is and like get actual air instead of soaking it all up.
I heard you say that before. For the longest time you were kind of soaking it up and going straight.
Yeah, I'd soak it up and kind of scrub a little bit, and they're like, hey, just jump the ramp straight. You're trying to do a seat grab all whipped out. And I'm like, I am jumping straight. And I think it was Todd Potter. He's like, dude, you're not even close to straight. Like, just jump straight. And I'm like, I thought I was.
Well, you get so used to kind of scrubbing or minimizing, and now you're going, okay, that's now I'm doing the complete opposite.
Yeah, I had to kind of that was like a weird learning period where I just kind of had to like start coming in even slower to the ramp and really trusting like the power and like come in slow and then just goose it off the bottom of the ramp. So now I went from riding a 250 coming in Mach 10 third gear and then now I'm actually one of the slower people that like comes into ramps compared to like our group of riders. Like I think me and Tyler are like the two slowest people that come into ramps.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Just idle in and
just try and go as slow as you can, and then as much as like that's the best way to do it is basically maximize your airtime.
The most pop.
Yeah, so I mean that's ultimately what you want, but it's easier said than done sometimes.
Well, it makes you got to time it right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just ironic I went from being one of the fastest to now one of the slowest.
Well, that's good. You're learning. You're changing.
Yeah, it was a fun learning process.
Why did they cut fenders? Like I get the grab holds in the back, and I get even the rear fender so your foot doesn't get caught on it. But why the front? Was that just
I think that's a question for Jeremy. I've actually never asked him. I think it was probably like
Metzger or something.
I think for like probably like through the bar tricks or maybe like KODs or probably just because they thought it looked cool at the time. I knew there was a reason for the back fender. I don't know if there was for the front.
Maybe it just looked goofy with everything else.
Yeah, same thing. Like I remember seeing, I think one of Deegan's old bikes, and like the size of his grabs were like the whole thing. Like
just open.
You could like stick your whole body through his like grabs and pop out the other side. And I'm just like, dude, like what were those for? But back then they used to do shoe boxes a lot where they'd stick their feet in the grab and like do a no-hander. Oh. So I'm hoping it's for that. But there used to be really big grabs.
I think I heard that's where he put his spiky shoulder pads when he was
probably for storage. It is super nice for storage. I will say that. Like I throw water bottles in there, and at shows you actually got to check your airbox before you go ride because a lot of us just stick stuff in there, like banana peels, trash. You find a lot of stuff in your airbox.
I'm sure you guys jack with each other too.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to check it before you ride.
Okay, so you also flipped in the Nitro games too, right? Were you the first woman to flip there too?
They had a setup that's like it's called their moon booter setup. Yeah. I flipped that. Okay. It was kind of a weird deal too, just not like the proper way to do it. We were overseas, I think Australia at the time.
Okay.
And my bike was on like stowage or whatever, so I couldn't even get my bike to go like practice at this compound that like Harry Bink and all them practice at. So Bink let me borrow his other Honda, and I was on Suzuki's at the time. So I just like hopped on his Honda and like rode it around in a circle because there's no track or anything to like even get used to it. And he's got like the ape hanger freestyle bars, and it was a lot different. But I was just like, well, I want to practice and like figure it out. And they had that moon booter there, so I like flipped it in like four or five times, and they all came around. So I was like, all right, well, next show I should try and flip it. So that's how that all went. I don't know why that ramp, but it's just like it's a scarier ramp to flip.
It's
but
steeper, right? Like
but it's less of like a pull. So
Yeah,
it was
I
just
gotcha.
kind of like, ironically, it's harder for the vets to do it because they're so used to a specific pull, like strength wise of like how much to pull, that's a super light pull. So it's actually harder for them to pull on that ramp and do a single flip. So I was like, I think it'll be easier for me. Well, at least that was my thought process. But
well, you pulled it.
Yeah, it worked. So that was good.
On someone else's bike too. That's
Yeah, I at least got to use my bike for like in the show. But
okay.
I borrowed Harry's bike to practice on.
Tell me about Red Bull Imagination, because that thing looks insane to me.
Yeah, every year it's been unbelievably like intimidating, but like you get either the best or best or worst version of yourself out there because it's just like you either do it or you don't. Like there's no in between, unfortunately. Like there's
one of them goes over a tree stand. You know, like you're jumping over a tree.
And it's just like all like brand new, like everything like that is built unbelievable. Like Jason Baker, like Tyler like works with him on it, but a lot of that stuff comes from Jason's mind, not anybody else's. And like a lot of things that Jason brings to life, like that's just in his brain. And just like some things are Tyler's brain, some things are Jason's brain, but it's just like, holy crap, like what are you guys thinking? Like how is this all doable? Like and it's crazy. The first year it was set like a start and finish line, so it was like a course. Okay. And that one was like the first year was actually super special because it was a small group and no one ever got to see any of it except for Tyler, and Tyler got to kind of ride it a little bit before we all got there. And it was just like a super special year for me because Tyler helped me with my real moto that year. He actually found a spot. We call it fake Utah because it looks like it's in Utah, but it's actually a secret spot. Okay. But he was like, I got this spot, and he's like, it'll be perfect for your real moto. So he brought us out there, and we like shoveled this thing, and he's like, all right, here you go. You get first dibs on it. And so like we got to film out there and get some sick shots for my real moto. And then I was still finishing up my real moto, and that was the same time he was doing his one-shot video out at Chocolate Mountain. So I was kind of bummed that I didn't get to help him on it and like reciprocate the favor. And he was talking about this project he had coming up in Kansas. And then I was like...
And why Kansas? What's it doing in Kansas of all places?
Well, so originally, once again, this is all Jason Baker. He built a little course out there for Adam LaRoche. He's a old baseball player, but he loves moto.
Okay. So
he built this course out there for him, and then an opportunity came up to do that cornfield video with Ryan Dungey. Mm-hmm. And that's at the same place, just one of Adam's fields over. Okay. So like the cornfield like track is still kind of there, so you got to kind of see it on your way into the course. So it's actually like two birds, one stone type of place, but. I mean, Adam's nice enough and such a legend to let us all come out there and literally just make this playground for Tyler and his dream. So he went out there.
Is it to get knocked down between?
No, it stays.
He
it's
just
there.
leaves it up.
Yeah, he leaves it up, and I mean, it just sits there all year. But Baker and them come in and just work magic. But
so I'm trying to put myself, in your guys' shoes, because I remember going out, still once in a while, I don't get to do it often, but you go out in the hills with your buddies and you'll shovel something or you're eyeballing it and then it's like everybody's sizing it up, and one person finally does it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, what gear were you in? Oh, how hard you hit it? You know, that butterfly feeling of nervousness.
Yeah.
When you're like, well, I got to do it. Like I'm not going to be the pussy that doesn't jump this after, you know, then 2 guys do it, then 3, and you're like, crap.
Yeah, it's like 15 times a day there.
So I imagine it's that times a million, right?
Yep.
Because it's not we would try to make stuff relatively safe. It's not safe there.
You would you would be surprised. Like Jason actually builds things like, I mean, it's still like very consequential, but he builds them like we have a safety deck. We have a pretty long landing. So like, it's not like we have a little bit of room for error, which I mean, some places like don't even like you got to land on the sweet spot and that's like the length of your bike. But we actually have a little bit of room for error and he packs in all the sides. So if we drift a little bit, like we have a big aiming point, at least the first 2 years. The third year, this past year, it was, the aiming went quite a bit smaller and it turned into a full skate park side on like what we call K-Dub's Kingdom, and it's just like endless lips and landings, just everything is absolutely everywhere, so you really have to be on your A game to line things up, because if you go a little left, you go a little right, it's a takeoff. So this year was very like pay attention to where you're going and pay attention to where other riders are, because if you, like I said, if you aim the wrong way just a little bit, like you're not going to hit the landing, you're going to hit a takeoff. So, and all the takeoffs are just full inverted and steep. So you're just, it's just bad news bears. So it's just, it definitely took a little bit longer just really to aim. Like the jumps were actually smaller, but techier this year on that side, because it was just like you got to aim small, miss small type thing. So it was just. We
kind of talked about how like nothing looks as big on TV or video, right?
Yeah.
Like, it shrinks everything down. It's terrible. That jump that Tyler did, and I think Axel did it after him.
Yeah, no, that looks big.
That looks big even on TV.
Yeah.
So how ridiculous was that thing?
I was so man.
Is he in 4th gear? Like
I was so nervous for him because he'd already come off an injury from Mammoth, like compounded his his arm, and it was like 3 weeks later that Imagination was. So like, dude, not a lot of time for recovery, even just to go ride, like let alone do all this big stuff. And like a lot of people look to Tyler as the guinea pig, because like his timing is by far like the best timing that any rider I've ever seen is his timing.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't know what he has in his brain, but he can figure out timing on anything. So like watching him work out there, and like I got to go out a day early with him and just watch him guinea pig stuff, and I'm like, holy shit, like how is this all in your brain? Then he like greased all of it. I think he clipped one thing, and same thing with year 2. He guinea pigged almost literally everything and maybe case one thing. But yeah, this year his arm was super sore and fatigued, and he still wanted to go for it for some reason. I'm just sitting there, and he's just doing test run after test run. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like even the first jump in is gnarly. Like you're jumping over a container. Like that first jump is nothing to like have sore eyes over. Like that first one's just big enough. And so he kept taking runs and trying to get like a good landing to get a good drive for the next one. And because it was just everything he had. So it was just like, pfft.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out if he's clicking 3rd or clicking 4th. I
think he was in 3rd. I think that's what he said. Because I don't think 4th would have pulled. Because he was just 3rd, like on the juice.
Every single thing in that bike.
Yeah.
So how do you're in this, you're now in that position I'm talking about, where you're there and you see somebody jump something, you're like, okay, now I got to go.
Yeah. That one I think that one was hands off for everyone but Axel, but the rest were in our safety zones, but so that one was out.
Do you try to put it out of your head and just go, okay, what gear? All right, and then you've watched them, you're listening to the tone of the bike, like where they're at, and you just go? Or like, how do you process it mentally? Because it's, like you said, it's all up here.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability to do it. Someone else is doing it, unless they're going, dude, it was sketchy. I pulled up and I barely made it.
I mean, Tyler looked at me at one and was like, kind of gave me like the eye of like, are you sure? Like, are you ready? And I'm like, yeah. And I just followed him off of it, and it was sweet. But yeah, I mean, it helps to be surrounded by like watching Tyler ride the most and then listening to him and then just like kind of going from there. But I kind of really set a goal for myself this year to go there and not need his help. I mean, granted, there's stuff that I'm going to need his help with or L Rider's help, but I kind of just set that goal of like to really trust my own timing and like trust my gut. And normally that does work. So I was like, I need to go there and do this myself, like not speed check everything and really just like, even if someone's already hit it, don't even follow them. Just like do it myself. And like that doesn't sound like a big goal, but out there it's actually a really big feat. Deal. And especially with the group that we have. And so I just like really wanted to like push myself into like jumping everything on my own. And I think I only followed Tyler over a couple things on Caleb's side. And I just jumped it all on my own. And some things were sooner than others, and some things were I was a little behind on, but that was one of my goals going in, and I definitely checked that one off my list. And my next goal was to jump something before any of them. And for whatever reason, I didn't know which one that was going to be. I didn't have one like picked out in my head. I was just like, I need to jump something before anybody else, and like just for myself, like another like goal I came there with. And for whatever reason, it worked out to be like 140 foot transfer over into Caleb's kingdom. And I just like, I kind of looked at it, and it's super blind. You can't see where the landing is, and there's just stuff on both sides, so you really have to aim. And I just like kind of looked at it, and I'm like, okay, that's where I gotta aim. Like I found a spot to aim for, and I seen Tyler start rolling at it and look at it, and I just friggin' pinned it back over, and I just mashed it and just left. And finally, I jumped it on my own before anyone. I was like, yes, finally, I got that one off.
That's sketchy. That's like, someone's got a cheat sheet over here, and you could go over and look real quick.
Yeah.
But you say, no, I'm going to do it on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super easy to follow because it takes all the guesswork out. And I don't know. I just was like, I want to do this on my own. Like, and I even wanted to, like, on Caleb's side is where I kind of felt like I struggled with like the creativity of finding certain lines. And so I really wanted to pick apart Caleb's side, and I ended up finding like 3 jumps that no one else even jumped out there and even found. And that was actually help from Sean Reif, one of the dudes that's on the dozer out there for Dream Tracks.
I know that name. He used to race.
He's a super sick rider that was like an amateur kid, like amateur genius basically growing up. And like he actually came out our first year at the very end of the event, hopped on Tyler's bike and borrowed his boots and his helmet and jumped a good chunk of stuff like all by himself. It was gnarly. But he pulled me over. He's like, hey, I got one for you. And he like pointed it out, and I'm like, okay. And it's kind of gnarly because it's completely blind, and you just got to come up the face of it and hope you're aimed right. And I got that one off, and then found another one. And then the one that actually took me down at Imagination was the big transfer I found out there. It was like 100 feet. And I jumped it once and barely made it on top. And then I asked Jason if he could help me with the lip at all. He added a little bit on top, and I thought it was going to be not near as poppy. But I ran out of time pretty much because we were battling with a lot of weather. And
it was windy or something.
Yeah, we had like 25 mile an hour winds that day. So it was just like we were having issues. I was about to jump it in my practice, and Julian crashed right in front of me basically. So my practice was a wash. And then went into warm-ups. My warm-up was like 30 mile an hour winds. And I'm like, well, what do we do? And they're just like, yeah, we can't do anything.
Was it crossing winds?
Yeah, it was like like obviously all the jumps go every direction, but the one I was like focused on, it was a crossing. So I just was like, all right. And they gave us a 2-minute warm up before our run, and I just went straight to it. And I just like tried it. I literally like dropped in and like went to my warm up. I don't even think I jumped anything else. I think I jumped one jump and then went straight into it and just...
Short?
Yeah, I went really long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I was so scared. I barely made it on before, and then I just juiced it and went a little bit too long, and then ended up, I was running out of real estate, so I had to land on the brakes and probably went like 120 to flat, and just landed on the brakes and just went straight into the woods.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so I think...
That's a Berryman move.
Yeah, for sure. I was trying to get some Endurocross points or something, but yeah, I pretty much just blew my shoulders out. Like I landed, and I've been having issues with this one at the beginning of the year. I subluxed it Took a trip down Yamaha Hill at Glen Helen and popped it out, and it popped back in, and then been pretty decent ever since. And then that impact just like took it out of me and like just ruined it.
When you did the flip, was that after Imagination?
Yeah. It was after Imagination. So
it's that same shoulder that keeps
same one, my right one, and then my left one was just, I think, like kind of sore from trying to overcompensate.
Hit a tree or what happened?
No, it was just like, I mean, I probably did, but dude, it was a rough impact. So I had to land on the brakes. So that pretty much just like toasted my shoulder. And I was just like, every trick I wanted to do over all the jumps was like the hardest ones to do in the wind. So it was just like not adding up. And Jeremy kind of came over to me and his wife Susie, and we were like, why are you trying to ride? And I'm like, dude, I want to go compete, but I'm like, dude, my shoulder, and it's so windy. And Jeremy's like, don't ride. You have MX Nations next weekend. Like, chill. And Susie said the same thing. She's like, dude, when Jeremy used to compete, he would do the same thing. He'd be the first one to pull out if it was too dangerous. So, like, don't be afraid. And so between those two are like mom and dad just telling me, like, the smart move. And I'm like, well, all right, like, I'll just chill and get ready for MX Nations next weekend.
You guys did a demo there?
Yeah, we did a demo at MX Nations at Redbud. It was insane.
Was it cool?
Oh, dude, so insane.
Big crowd.
Huge crowd. Yeah. I could not believe, like, I was just, like, blown away how many people were going to be there. Because we did one in Amsterdam right before COVID. It was huge. Like, unbelievable. And I was like, I wonder how Redbud's going to be in...
Bigger?
It did not disappoint. It was so sick. Dudes were like, so many drunk people were just like lighting porta potties on fire, trying to tip over a huge budget truck. It was just gnarly. It was so
it's debauchery at that place.
So we tried to get out of there before USA won because I didn't know if we were gonna make it out.
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, it was insane.
There's a lot of like, I want to kind of, and we talked a little bit about this. Kind of, you call yourself a free rider, but the sport's taken all kinds of little directions now, right? Like, so you have contest guys, there's demo guys, there's free ride guys, and then there's guys like Matto who do stunts, or like, I guess you call them stunts, right? Like big jumps, big things. I mean, where do you think you fit into that? Kind of a little bit of everything?
Yeah, I think that's kind of like where I'm at right now, is just like, I still like racing occasionally when I can. I kind of really am into like video parts, and I kind of want to move more into like some video parts. But it's still cool to be able to do demos because they're so like simple, and you get to interact with fans and like be live and in person with your fans and people. So like, it's definitely something to never like look away from. But I just like being able to do everything because that's like kind of like, I feel like I'm just a versatile rider to be able to do all these things. So why not do them all?
Yeah, you can do them all. So why not? Are you guys going to do some at Supercross again this year? Yeah,
we should. Yeah, I'm not sure what our schedule quite is yet. I believe some of us will be at A1. I'm not sure who yet. It kind of just gets split up, so we don't really know which ones we're getting to do, and certain riders go to certain ones just to split it all up.
Do you guys have like an agent that works with Feld on your behalf? Or
I think Feld and Monster and the dude Keith Sayers, he like puts on all the freestyle shows for all of us because he has like pretty much the best setup you could ever hope for.
Okay.
So for us, like, we want like obviously the best, and Monster hires him because of that reason. So I think at this point Monster has kind of just handed things over to Keith and be like, here's our athletes, and you can he brings in a couple of his own riders as well, and then we just do shows. But I think now I think Monster's kind of put it on Keith to be like, hey, like, just kind of work out a good schedule for everyone, and makes it kind of easy. So if I do A1, Jeremy does San Diego, or however it works. So it kind of just spreads the love,
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 of you at each one or something like that.
Yeah, normally. Yeah.
I saw it at San Diego last year.
Yeah, some of us, either like the first one and the last one, normally a lot of us are at them. Like last year at Salt Lake, I think they had like 10 of us there. So it's pretty cool.
That's rad. That Keith guy, he's from Montana, right?
Yeah, Montana. Yeah, and his son
races.
I
gotta meet this guy. I mean, I'm from up there too, and
Oh, no way! Yeah, he's super sick.
Small number of people.
Yeah, I think he's on his way down now because he said Montana's too cold.
Oh, it's freezing. Yeah, they were below zero for a little while. It's not doing good.
Yeah, bad. Not good for injured joints.
So you said you kind of want to get into some more like video TV stuff. Do you have a connection in there? Is there like a stunt coordinator or
I mean, not that kind of TV stuff, but more just like I had a really
freeriding videos.
Yeah, like that type of stuff of just like kind of creating some more videos. Like I made Real Moto, and it was just like a really high pressure video segment piece for me. So I really enjoyed it. Like it was kind of just a cool competitive. It was a competition, but like it's more of like a competition just with yourself in a sense. So it's just like digging deep, and hopefully it's enough to beat the other guy making a video. So it's, I don't know, it was a cool aspect to have, and I got to do it the last year they ended up having it. So I don't know, it really drew, and it's just like you get your own creativity in a blank canvas. So it's just,
are they not doing that anymore?
I think Moto, they kind of like mix it around like the sports. I think they did, instead of Moto, they did like mountain bike or something. So maybe it'll come back around to a different sport or something. But I got to do it, and it was honestly like super cool. And I think I like earned my spot into doing something like that and really pushing the envelope. So it was just cool, and I'd like to try and get creative and do more. And we're actually like working on one with 805 right now, just more of a documentary style one.
Cool.
And doing things like that. So, but it's just cool. Like I love being able to like go and like film and just create cool pieces.
Yeah, and do you do any video editing, or you have somebody doing that?
I mean, with that project, we already have someone, because I'm definitely not at that level. But I enjoy like filming and tinkering around on that type of stuff, and just seeing what you can make.
You know how it should look to, or how you want it to look.
Yeah.
Right? So you're kind of director a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So like sometimes like when I see an image of like something, but then I'm like, hey, can you like go film this, and then they edit it or something, I'm like, oh well, that's not it's still cool, but it wasn't like my original vision for it. So it would be cool to get to a place, like I'm definitely not great with cameras or anything like that, but it would just be cool to get to a place where if I do have that vision, I can kind of help create it a little bit more and just understand that side. So if I do have an ask, it's not like out of the ordinary or out of like the element to ask. So then I can understand it more. Sadly this day and age is all social media anyway, so it's not the worst direction to go either.
Yeah, I mean, so I was gonna say you could build it and just put it on your YouTube page, or
for sure. Yeah, I haven't done any YouTube stuff, but it would be cool to just kind of maybe do like some smaller pieces like that. Not really like vlog style, but just kind of just cool little pieces here and there. Nothing crazy.
Short edits. Yeah. Have you ever thought about stunt work?
I
feel like for gals, there's a big. There's not a lot of women who can, whether it's ride a bike or a mountain bike or even drive a car.
Yeah.
Which like would be simple for you.
Yeah, I've definitely like really wanted to get my SAG card, and I always get the opportunity almost once a year, but for some reason and somehow it's like lined up with a date like I cannot like let go. Like I think last year I had an opportunity to do some stunt work and get my SAG card, but one of the dates was on for Imagination. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I think that's just kind of maybe I'm hoping for my timing to come back around and then I'll just be doing stunt work next time we talk.
Your timing has been perfect so far, so maybe it's just not the right time.
Exactly.
It's funny, you know Jolene Von Voot, right?
Yeah.
That's what she's kind of doing now.
Yeah, she makes a great living out of that.
Well, she has a like a little hotel setup called the Outpost up in near Big Bear.
She was telling me about it.
It's right by my station, like literally 100 yards from where I work.
Oh, no way.
So I've gone over there. I've stayed over there, and her and her brother's the mayor of Fawnskin, California.
That's so rad.
So anyway, I was been chatting with her a little bit about it, and I thought, man, I should connect you guys and have her. She's got some good inroads over there.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I would never really want to like take away from her work, that's for sure. But that's kind of like, I feel plenty. Like, I don't know, like, you know how like some type of inns are like, oh, you can't, like, you're going to take, you know, food off my table.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just like, I'm getting by like well enough for what I'm doing. So like if there's an opportunity, like I'll take it, but I don't want to like just go in and start, you know, stepping on people's toes.
There's a need. Andy Harrington plays a girl half the time when he does stuff. So like they need a good girl who can ride.
Yeah, Andy used to train me too when I was a kid.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Andy's the best. I love that guy. So tell me about the stunt you did, which is your world record. deal. And it was you and Axel, right? He was doing like a long distance jump.
Yeah, Axel was doing the longest ramp to ramp distance jump, and he ended up getting hurt. And like Axel's like a brother to me, so I went to him and I think Ash and PH, and I'm like, hey, like I'll wait, like I'll like if you need 2 weeks, like I'll wait and I'll just go with you. And they're like, no, like, dude, take the opportunity, like don't waste it, because like what if you get hurt between now and then, like riding. So they were like just go and do it. And I'm like, well, all right. And I don't know, I didn't think it was like that big of a deal, especially compared to what Axel's doing. So I'm like, like, all right. So like, it just like,
and how did that come up? You went through so many burning boards or something?
Yeah, I think it was 13. The record was like 12 or something like that. So we went through 13. And, but yeah, I don't know. It was like, it's a cool thing. And obviously to get a world record, super cool. But, like as far as like all the other things in my life that I've like had to go through, like that's like pretty low on my I guess my challenge level. But
like your cool meter, it's probably
I mean like the idea got brought up, and obviously there was a money symbol attached to it, and that's the part I kind of was like, yeah, I'll do it then.
yeah, I'm in.
And
I was
like,
lame.
is there anything like else I could do? And they're like, nope, this is what they want. And I think it was History Channel or something like that. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll do it. So that's kind of
was it hard at all?
To be honest, no.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's kind of trippy. Like, the first time I went through just one single board, like, it's super weird. Like, you go through a board and you expect to, like, get some, like, stop, basically, and, like, not continue on. Like, if you were to run into a wall, you don't expect to go completely through it, and then there'd be another wall to go through. So it's just kind of weird, like, I don't know.
And I'm trying to remember, is it a full sheet of like plywood, or was it just
they did like boards across this way, so there was like 4 or 5 pieces of wood that dropped down, and then then they just lit them on fire.
So why wouldn't you go like 15 or 20? I feel like you could have blown through like 100 of them.
If I got paid per wall, you would have seen that thing lined up down the whole strip of the runway.
Right,
but they said just beat the record.
Yeah.
So I just did 13.
So for you, I could kind of see it when I watched it. Axel's run too, like his toes touched his shin, like they just bent back. That looked brutal. But when I watched yours, I was like, that was it?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
she just went through that like.
Yeah.
She was just riding through the pits. Like,
it wasn't. It was like they wanted it to not go, like they had a certain speed I had to stay at for like to make it through the walls, and then a certain speed not to excel, because it would have just happened in like 0.2 seconds. So it was like find a happy medium of speed. But like, yeah, I was like, I think the gnarliest thing were just like the fire fumes. Like, so Benny from Bell came in and like taped, like he glued out like all the vents in my helmet, because I was running the Race Star, not the Moto helmet.
Okay.
So he like sealed all the vents, and then literally I think the day of, because we were having problems like having it open at the bottom chin area, that I was getting so much fumes in my face. But by the time I was like 5 walls deep, my eyes were like burning because of the fire. And that was like the only complication that we had, because like it was literally like looking into a campfire and like your eyes start watering and burning, you got to close them or look away. Well, that wasn't quite an option, because I had to go through a few more walls.
It wasn't hot breathing it, was it?
No, not too bad breathing, just in my eyes. So yeah, we
did they probably have chemicals on the wood then, or what was it?
Yeah, they had some accelerant on there too. So just to obviously make it look cool. And it was a windy day, so I think the fire started like going out. So like it wasn't the most like that, it wasn't the greatest spectacle, but it was still super cool.
World record.
Yeah, it's still a world record, so it's cool.
Tell me a little bit about like the female community of riders. Like, do you keep in touch with any of the other girls who ride at a high level, or do you get contacted by girls who ride?
Yeah, absolutely. JP actually just hit me up like a few months back to try, and she put on an event like for her at her facility to try and do some like women's racing. I couldn't make it, but she hit me up to come out and just be a part of it. I see Tara here and there, and I'm always stoked to see her and Dusty and her family and stuff like that. So yeah, like a handful of us like definitely keep in contact, and that's something like I've kind of started like chipping away at, is to create more of like that opportunity, because there aren't as many women doing it. And it's I come from a different backing, obviously, so I never understood the importance of like creating a learning environment for women on motorcycles. Monster actually sent me out 2 years ago to this camp called Over and Out, and it was an all women's motocross camp. And I was like kind of like hesitant at it at first, because I didn't quite understand. I grew up with all guys, and the environment in which guys learn at, if you fall over, they just point and laugh, and you get up and you laugh, and it's over.
Yeah.
But like if a guy points and laughs at a girl falling over, she is ruined inside, and there's no coming back, and she wants to quit forever. So like I didn't quite understand that, because like if I fall, it's funny. Like everybody thinks it's funny, and they make fun of you for it, and it's over, and you just get back up, try it again. But yeah, women learn differently, and they want like a environment, and almost like a safe environment to learn it. So when I went there, I was like, we need more of this. And so I kind of worked with the owner, Kelly, to start bringing him out to California and creating like that same like environment to just help women learn how to ride motorcycles. And I did come across a lot of them weren't even learning like the proper way. Right. So like I did a quick little class, the first one I did, and I just literally told them to squeeze with their knees. And I couldn't, like 5 women came up to me and said, I've been riding for 5-10 years and no one's ever told me that. And I'm like, whoa, like that's bad. Yeah. So like I just like felt like compelled to really start helping and teach them things, and maybe teach them even the right way. So we kind of started doing the Over and Out camps here in California. We did one last year. It went great. So we're going to do another one in March at Paula or at Fox Raceway. Yeah. And just kind of start slowly keeping the ball rolling, and just kind of create that cool environment. And the way at Kelly that she handles all of it, I pretty much do absolutely nothing. And she kind of makes it a cool experience, to where it's not just riding dirt bikes. Like there's ways to just meet other women that ride, and just, you know, have fun and have a good weekend out of it, instead of just a boot camp of learning, you know, a couple things and you're on your way. It's a weekend of just experiences and getting to hang out. So that really drew me into it, instead of just doing like a day boot camp type thing. And so it just kind of a cool way to make dirt bikes and more inviting and fun.
Totally. I think that's awesome. What do you do for fun when you're not riding? What else do you do?
Not a whole lot.
You got a day off. What are you going to go do?
Day off usually consists of mountain biking. I love going to the gym. It's like one of my favorite things, and I wish I could do it more, but with Epstein-Barr, I scale back quite a bit. So if I'm riding a lot, I scale a little bit back on the gym. So I kind of miss being able to go to the gym as much as I used to. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's your fun.
That's my fun.
Extra training.
Yeah, like, or my boyfriend rides Harleys for a living, so like we have a couple. Well, when I say I borrow one of his, and we'll like go rip up to Julian and have lunch in Julian and come back, or just go rip him around or something. So it's pretty much, we're just always on 2 wheels.
Yeah, that's cool. So the perfect weekend for you would be like, get up, go to the gym, get on your Harley, go for a ride, come back, and I don't know, go for a mountain bike ride.
Yeah, dude, literally, that's like your favorite weekend. And like, dude, you want to throw in like some guilty pleasures of like ice cream and like bad food? Oh yeah, it's
You're
me.
In.
That's it. I'm simple.
What's on the calendar for you? Like, what's coming up in the next 6 to 12 months?
For me, just doing shows with Monster and Keith Sayers. Stoked to have him like just kind of take me under and have me do a couple extra shows with him. And then last year we did the summer on the East Coast just to try something different and get to just different experiences, and I absolutely loved it. So I'd really like to be able to go back and kind of just get back in the foam pit and start doing some video projects out there, because I feel like California has a lot, but it's been so filmed and overused that we almost don't have anything new to see. So I kind of really want to just push into the East Coast side of things and try and maybe make some cool video edits out there of like things to be able to like just different stuff, like not your typical, you know, turn up over the Paula triple or you know, just your standard stuff that you're seeing every single place. It's just kind of oversaturated out here, so I'd love to be able to just kind of experience new tracks, new places to ride, and I got a taste of it last summer. So I'd just really like to expand on it and just be able to ride just new venues. I've been here since I was 7 years old, riding Paris and Glen Helen. So I'm like, I could use some more tracks and more sites to see.
Yeah, I get that completely, because just testing bikes out here, it's like, okay, where do we go?
Yeah,
you know, Glen Helen, or you got this or that. There's like 4 places.
Yeah,
that's all
I know, and we are very spoiled to have what we have. But my boyfriend's been out here for only a couple years. And he's always like, oh, you want to go here? They changed the track. I'm like, no, they didn't. I'm like, it's the same. It's all the same. The dirt's the same. By the time lap 1 comes around, I know every single nook and cranny of every edge. And so it's just like, I don't know, it was just cool being able to go out and even to go. We spent a lot of time with like Robbie Marshall at his family's track, and just getting to like, I don't know, experience a new track. Like, it was so refreshing for me. Like, I didn't know where the edges of the track were. I had to find them, and like, just like, I don't know, it was just a new experience that I hadn't gotten in a long time.
Well, we went and did a couple of bike tests outside of Dallas at this guy's private property, and just, it was kind of the same experience for me. Like, man, I've been riding the same old places for so long. It's fun, like just being somewhere new and learning a new track, you know?
Yeah, it was just so weird. Like, I wanted to like start jumping into the edges of the track, because that's obviously like kind of like where we normally ride, and I didn't know where they were, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of trippy, and trying to just ride with East Coasters. Like, East Coasters are just a different breed.
Yes.
And it was just cool to experience all that. We went out and did like this best whip contest in Maine, and dude, just pure insanity, and just it was just the coolest experience, just watching East Coasters just be humans.
Yeah, they have there's an event, and I think it's in Jersey called J-Day. Do you know what I'm talking about?
They do J-Day events. Yeah, so they wanted me to come do one. I was like, I don't know, they seem kind of gnarly, but it'd be kind of cool to try and go do one of those, because they had Cooper Webb come out, and dude, him and Robbie Marshall just battled. It was so sick. So it was just like a cool experience, and we did like a freestyle show and a best whip contest that won. So yeah, it was just cool just to experience like different things. Like, and even like when we go do shows, it's like hotel, airport, venue. Like, now I've actually put like miles driving to some events, and like going with Brody Wilson, I hop in his truck and we go rip down to like Florida for a show. So like putting miles in, and just, I don't know, just different experiences in different ways. So it's just been refreshing to be able to do it that way. And now it's cold out there, so you won't catch me out there. I'm going back. Be a little while.
What about Nitro? You still do any of those?
No, I don't do any stuff with Nitro anymore. I pretty much scaled back to doing shows with Monster and with Keith Sayers.
Okay. So is X Games still, is there any moto in X Games anymore?
Yeah, there's still some moto stuff in X Games. They did everything at Axles the past couple years. I was hurt.
It's been weird with code, all right? They had to do
it's tough, but I think it's kind of cool the way that they're doing it. I mean, you're putting in, like, you know, they're making an X Games course, but it's kind of helping out the sport itself when they do it. I mean, Pat Casey hosts it at his house for like BMX and stuff like that, and BMX dirt. So that means like X Games is going to come in and help his facility out, which means it helps our facility, like you know, the whole sport. So it's kind of a cool way to look at it. Same thing with Axel. Like, they came in and kind of revamped his course and put some new stuff in, and you know, that wouldn't have happened without X Games. So, and then, you know, we get to all ride it. So it helps the community that way. So it's kind of cool, instead of just building in an arena and then tearing it down the next day. So it's definitely a different vibe, but I don't know. It's cool for the communities.
What about this 110 thing that they did? What's your thoughts on it? Because I'm watching it going, so we're doing 110s? Like,
I mean, I think it's kind of cool, just because I think 110s have made a comeback, and they're more almost relatable because so many kids do it. So, I mean, in that sense, it's definitely cool. It's a little odd because of, like, we go from, like, quarter pipe then to 110s, and you're like, it's just opposite scales of the spectrum.
Yes.
But at the same time, like, they invited me to do it the first year, and I ended up getting hurt and not being able to go that year. And I'm kind of glad I like backed out of 110 stuff, because if I would have showed up there, I'd be like, I don't think I belong.
They do some pretty big stuff.
They're flipping 110s and like doing some pretty cool tricks on them. And like, obviously Axel's the king of just random like wheel taps and like just tossing in cans random, like off random little stuff. So of course he's just thriving off of it.
Yeah, that's his event. What about the next few years? Is there anything you have planned like that you want to do, or like you haven't been able to do yet?
For me, I think I have a few like tricks that I would like to kind of cross off, like kind of one-off tricks that one especially that was originally supposed to be in my real moto that I ended up getting hurt on my front flip. So I couldn't finish my real moto the way I wanted to. So it's still in the back of my mind to try and get that kind of out of the way before I have too many more injuries and can't do it. But yeah, just stuff like that, kind of cross off the rest of my like bucket list stuff that I have going on and just kind of push for that. And right now I'm just like in a cool place that I get to enjoy dirt bikes as they are. And like if we're riding, we're riding. If not, I don't know. It's just cool to be able to like just take it all in. And I remember the days where if I broke something, I was just freaking out because I didn't know how to afford to fix it. And now when things break today, I just laugh and giggle. And I'm just blessed to be in a financial place where I could afford to buy a new part.
So are you making decent money now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thankfully the sponsors that I have make it all a dream come true. And then on top of it, we do shows and we get paid a great deal for shows since it's a little risky. But so it's just cool. Like I just have been reminiscing on being just a broke little kid, just trying to make some dollars to pay for the broken bike to being able to like buy a house and have bikes that if they break I can fix them. Like that's the best feeling in the world is just when one of my bikes break, I'm like, yep, I can fix that.
No problem. Yeah.
And just being able to like enjoy and like reap what I sow and just enjoy having a life on a bike and then just enjoying life off the bike as well.
What can somebody that's doing what you're doing, I'm trying to like walk this line where I don't want to ask you what you make, but somebody in your line of work, what's the average income? God only knows how much money Twitch is making with DVK and all that.
I don't know if Jeremy, he's at the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But you can like my roommate, he doesn't live with me anymore, but one of my roommates, he's not like a social media guy. He does like amazing tricks and does a lot of freestyle shows. And I think like, I mean, it really just consists of like making sure you know your worth. And that's the hardest part, I think, in our sport. Not
underselling other people.
Yeah,
right?
Underselling a lot of people, which is a big issue in our sport, unfortunately. And that's just like holding your value. And like that almost, like I was almost like dead broke because I was holding my value and not wanting to ride like $500 for a show or $1,000 for a show because I knew my worth would be potentially so much more. But once you do it once, then all the promoters know, and then you never get paid more. It's never like that. Times get tougher and your pay gets less. So, but he makes great money, and I think it can really range from like an upright rider making, I think if you don't flip, making like $1,500 a show maybe, and then if you're flipping, I think you can probably make like $2,500 to $3,000 a show, and then a little bit more if you have like following and stuff like that. So it all kind of comes into like a little bit of everything can kind of really tie in, but it's just kind of like depends on who you are a little bit, but or what tricks you have. Like it all kind of really varies. Like we still have riders that'll be like $500 a show, $1,000 a show. Like there's a huge range.
Yeah.
And then if you have special one-off tricks that someone wants you to come do, you can charge whatever you want, and that's what like was trippy back in the day. Like I think when the backflips were first a thing, like they could go get like 20-30 grand overseas for just going to do a backflip and then coming back with cash.
I did a Supercross in Portugal in 2003, and Dave Domingos, do you know that name?
Yeah.
He's from your neck of the woods. He's San Diego area somewhere.
Yeah.
He was doing flips at the time, and it was off a little ramp, kind of like maybe the moon booter like you were talking about, and it was still sketchy. He was doing that over like a berm, And I think he got paid 20 or 25 grand to go over there and do it.
It's unfortunately not like that anymore, really. I mean, when double flips were first starting to happen, I think like Levi was probably getting paid like good money to go and do them places and things like that. But I think that part of it has kind of dwindled down. And like that was like where I saw myself like trying to find like a one-off check that I could go do places. That kind of dwindled down, especially with COVID. So, now it's just doing shows and like kind of finding a little niche for yourself. But it's a huge range, and it's just thankfully like the riders that have good tricks and good things that like with social media and like really presenting themselves well, obviously get paid a little bit more than your I guess beer chaser that just needs the beer money. So we get a pretty aggressive range.
So would you say like maybe is it as low as 30, 40, 50,000 a year to $500,000 a year?
Yeah, I would say so. It could definitely range quite a bit. Yeah. I mean, like, and as sponsors too. Like if you, like I said, like some riders just ride shows and they don't have any sponsors or like paying sponsors, I should say. And then some people have a couple, and others just have pretty much like all sponsors, no shows. So it's a huge range. Yeah. So it's really hard to put a penny on, especially when you have like Jeremy at that top level range, and then you have the upright riders at the bottom level. So it's just because like a lot of people still want like upright riders only. So there's still a little market for that too.
Yeah, there's shows going on all over the place.
Absolutely.
I find that interesting. Like you'll see shows going on everywhere, and it's like at some little fairground type of stuff to.
Yeah, I did a huge range. I did like a random last minute one that they were supposed to have like a dude I think on its a snowmobile, and they were supposed to have him come out, and he couldn't do it because he's double booked. So then they called me, and I just drove from Connecticut to Nebraska to do a last minute show real quick in just some random fair town. And just random stuff pops up though, but you never know what you're gonna get type thing.
Well, everybody's entertained. That's all that matters.
But it's cool though when you go to those like little like random towns that no one's ever heard of. Like you just riding around and jumping the jump, they're already like mind blown. Yeah. But you go to like a show in California, like that was it.
You didn't do a double flip, bro?
Yeah. Why'd you only do one flip? And you only like Taka's not even that entertaining to them.
Maybe like, those smaller venues are more fun, huh? Because
sometimes they are, because the crowd's just so fired up and into it because they don't get that. They don't get that like environment, or they don't get to see it. Out here, they see it every day. They're like, okay, cool. Like, are you going to do anything else?
Well, everybody's too cool out here anyway to act impressed.
Exactly, yeah.
That was all right, bro. You should have done this.
Yeah, I could do that. I just didn't feel like it.
Jackasses. What about a family and getting married? Is that something you're interested in at some point?
Absolutely. I think that's too why like now I'm 30 now. So, it was just cool, I think, for me, like, to see, like, Tara kind of go through that phase of, like...
She just retired, yeah?
Yeah, she just retired, but she went through a phase. She got married, and she had a kid, and now he's, like, kind of growing up and, like, getting into bikes and skating and, like, all that fun stuff, like, all the fun sports. So, yeah, it's something, like, cool to look for, but for someone in my, like... work it's a little bit more difficult. So I think it's just something to try and like save for, and just like any other like family income, some people save for kids or cars or whatever, so it's just saving for the right occasion. Same, I save for getting hurt as well. So
unfortunately that's something we got to think about. Well, we ask this same question of all our guests at the end. Boy. It's how do you want to be remembered in this sport when you're done?
For me, I think a lot of it has to do with, there's plenty of good people that ride dirt bikes or BMX bikes or skateboards or whatever it may be. Like we have plenty of legends that do gnarly stuff on whatever their sport is. But I don't know, just for me, is just trying to like be a good human and give back to the sport as much as I can, because that's ultimately the easiest thing to do, but it's unfortunately really overlooked in our industry of just being a good human and being a good human when cameras aren't in front of you. And I feel like that's really challenging in our industry.
That's called integrity.
Yeah.
And it's lacking.
Yeah. So for me, that's honestly like just being a good human and trying to give back to the sport in any way I can, really, and just making sure that the youth is taken care of.
That's awesome. Well, I can tell you my 2 cents, take it or leave it. It's not often I watch somebody ride and I'm like, wow, like this girl has really good style. I mean, like when you just riding, I'm like, I don't know, you cut your hair off. I couldn't tell if you're a top level pro guy or, like it's crazy. And I don't want that to sound misogynistic. It's just, there's not a lot of women who do.
I've heard that my whole life. It's just a weird comment, but I've heard it a lot, but I appreciate it.
You have a cool style. Like it's fun watching you ride. And then the stuff you're doing is just insane. These jumps, it's just really impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Me. I appreciate it.
I'm going to send Twitch a text.
You should.
If you guys are going riding, I'm going to join you.
Oh, man, it's on.
All right, don't hurt me. I'm old. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you taking the time, Vicki, and what a cool story. Stay tuned. We'll be back to close up the show.
I want to be bad with you, girl, like we're robbing a bank.
Hey guys, welcome back. We really want to thank Vicki Golden for coming in. What a cool story. If you've not seen her videos, seen her riding, man, follow her on Instagram. Go check some of her videos out that are out there on YouTube. She's gnarly. I'm not just blowing sunshine up her dress. She is a really, really amazing rider, and she's done some really cool stuff in her career. So stoked to have her on. Hope you guys enjoyed it. End of the season here. This is, even though this is coming out first part of the year, it's really our last show of 22. And I really want to thank all you guys over the course of the year and years for tuning in and supporting the show. I have a really good time doing this. I feel like I get to know people that, in a way that I just won't get to otherwise, because it's tough to get people to sit down for 4 straight hours and talk to you outside of doing something like this. So I really appreciate you guys supporting it. And I ask that you support our sponsors the best you can. We go out of our way to make sure that we're not partnering with any crappy products. Everything we use here on the show and promote is premium brand. Yamaha, I mean, look, best motorcycles in our sport, best stuff in off-road, everything that they do, just absolutely top level. Therabody, if you guys have not tried a Theragun or a Power Dot, or their rollers, they've got awesome products. Check their stuff out. Method Race Wheels, we have a discount code. Go to methodracewheels.com/whiskey throttle, 20% off. Troy Lee Designs, obviously they've been a partner of mine for years and years, and just great stuff, great people, such a fun brand and company. SKDA, just kind of redesigned what graphic companies are and what they look like and what graphics look like. Those guys have been absolutely crushing it. We're stoked to have them a part of the show. They'll be back for next year, and we're pumped about it. Dunlop, best tires in the business, and we're stoked to have them partnered with us as well. Pro Circuit, suspension, motors, exhaust, whatever you're looking for. Again, absolutely top level. Seat Concepts, love these guys, so good. Nihilo Concepts, Specialized Bicycles, OGO Power Sports, Sena Bluetooth, Pro X Racing Parts. They make everything OEM replacement for your bike. If you're looking for something, start with them. High quality stuff at good pricing. Motul USA, just great oil, such a great company. Check those guys out. Stasic, if you guys are looking for the perfect gift for your young daughter or son, this is it. What a great way to get them involved in our sport safely, and just let them have a good time. Complete Racing Solutions, big thank you to Coach Rob for all he's done over the years for us. And Luck Unlimited Apparel and Mealthy, just a great list of partners. We sure appreciate all of them for their support this year. And folks, if you can go out and just and start with them if you're looking for any of these products, we'd appreciate it. We will see you in 23. We got some great things planned, and looking forward to kicking it off here in a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next time. The Whiskey Throttle Show is brought to you by Yamaha. Join the Blue Crew today and take advantage of all that Yamaha has to offer, including amateur racing trackside support, awesome Yamaha contingency, Jason Rain's demos and instructional classes, and frankly, the most high-performing motorcycles available on the market today. Whether you're looking for a 4-stroke, a 2-stroke, a side-by-side, a quad, a boat, a generator, Yamaha prides themselves on absolute top-level quality and reliability. Rev your heart with Yamaha and join the Blue Crew today. Sore necks, aching legs, tight backs. Our bodies aren't designed to be constantly tense. But what can we do about it? Help your body relax with Therabody. Therabody creates effective, natural solutions to take charge of your daily wellness. By combining education, innovation, and over a decade of pioneering technology, Therabody makes wellness more accessible for everybody. A traumatic motorcycle accident led Therabody founder Dr. Jason Westland to create the Theragun for his debilitating pain. Now the Theragun, the only physician-created percussive therapy device, uses a scientifically calibrated combination of depth, speed, and power to relax and release your deep muscle tension. Recovery Air is Therabody's world-leading pressure compression therapy system that flushes out leg soreness so you can bring on peak performance. Most electrical muscle stimulation is ineffective. Instead, Therabody's sleek Power Dot takes away the guesswork with an intuitive app that customizes intensity and placement so you recover faster. Regular foam rollers hurt. Therabody's Wave series delivers powerful vibration and pressure to help you recover with less pain. Don't settle for mystery CBD. Therabody's TheraOne range of topical and ingestible full-spectrum USDA-certified organic CBD products are redefining high-potency CBD for wellness and recovery. 250 professional sports teams exclusively use Theragun and other Therabody products to take recovery into their own hands. Method Race Wheels, bringing you the lightest, strongest, fastest wheels in off-road for your truck, van, sprinter, UTV, or SUV. They've been dominating the Baja 500 and 1000 and every major off-road event around the world for years with high quality and performance. They also look amazing. They come in a bunch of different styles and colors for your rig, so check them out. You can get 20% off a set of wheels using our code Whiskey Throttle. No capitals, no spaces. 20% off using our code. Check them out. Troy Lee Designs is the leader in off-road motocross apparel and style. So whether you're looking for a cool new paint job for your helmet, maybe your name and number on your helmet lettered on, you're looking for new gear, you're looking for mountain bike gear, off-road gear. They've got the brand new Scout line and GP and SE models. Troy Lee Designs has it all. They've been leading this industry for decades, and they're going to continue to do it. Check out TroyLeeDesigns.com. SKDA is a moto graphics and seat covers company with several offices based around the globe. For too long, bikes and graphics have all looked the same. They just start to blend together. SKDA is working to change that. With super clean and unique design work, a bike with SKDA graphics stands out in a crowd and adds a touch of art to the world of moto. Hey, we need that. SKDA prides itself on providing premium customer service both before and after the sale is made. Visit SKDA online to view the current product range and get in touch with their team to get your bike refreshed. I want to just make a mention here that these guys, not only is their design way outside the box, very, very cool. They'll work with you on custom things. The products are incredible. Okay, they'll speak for themselves. But what's really awesome, and you'll notice this the minute you order one of these, man, they give you an email saying, hey, the product's been shipped. Hey, the product is here. It landed in this spot. Hey, it's coming today. Hey, your product's been delivered. They just so good about staying in touch with you and letting you know where it's at. Customer service is 100%, and that's just something that's rare these days. Check out SKDA. Here at the Whiskey Throttle Show, we're all about supporting brands that support our sport. And there's one tire company that has never walked away from the sport of motocross and supercross, and it's Dunlop. When times got tough and the economy took a crash, Dunlop stepped up and stayed with our sport to support it and the athletes and individuals that love it. Their MX-53 line and MX-33 lines absolutely dominate this sport. Every national championship at the pro level has been won in the last decade, and nearly every single amateur national championship at Loretta Lynn's has been won on a Dunlop. So if you're looking for high performance, you're looking for amazing quality, and you're looking to support a brand that never turns its back on our sport, there's only one choice for you, and it's Dunlop. Pro Circuit is the leader in aftermarket performance and quality. Whether you're looking for a little more horsepower out of your engine, some quality hard parts to improve the way your bike feels and looks, better handling through suspension or linkage arms, Pro Circuit is where you need to stop. It's your one-stop shop. You can go in there and get everything you need to make your motorcycle go from average to exceptional. Pro Circuit's got enough number one plates on their wall to side an entire home, and there's a reason for that. They're very, very good at what they do. The highest quality products with one goal in mind, and that's winning. Check out ProCircuit.com. Nihilo Concepts is leading the way in aftermarket hard parts. With their secondary on-switch device, something that was much needed in this sport, they've been innovating and bringing new products to market. Their latest is the new Nihilo Run Cool brake pistons. They're designed to be stronger than stock and provide exceptional cooling performance with less brake drag. Most OEM calipers pistons are made from aluminum that just can't hold up to the heat and extreme demands of serious racing. When they get hot, the aluminum will distort, causing loss of hydraulic pressure and brake failure. Nihilo's Run Cool pistons limit the area that boiling hot hydraulic fluid is able to come in contact with the piston, leaving 2/3 of the piston volume in open air with breather holes to enhance the cooling ability. It's made of a proprietary stainless blend, which is better at dissipating heat. You have issues with brake fade or brake failure, check out Nihilo Concepts among their many amazing hard parts and carbon fiber parts and titanium. NihiloConcepts.com. Senna is the leader in motorcycle helmet communications. There's really two prongs to why this is important. One of them is safety. If you're a dad who's watching your kid out on a track, being able to communicate with him about a rider down or a track situation is imperative. You don't want him coming over a jump and seeing a rider down and getting himself involved in that. So from a safety aspect, it's huge. You can also coach them. So if you see them taking a line, doing something that they could be improved, it's very easy to just click a button and speak to them right in their helmet in real time. This has been a proven coaching technique used by many motorcycle coaches. There's also just the simple fun factor. Being able to chat with your buddy while you're out on a ride, share music between one another, answer phone calls. It just takes your riding experience to another level. So whether you're using the 50S or 50R connected through a mesh network in your helmet, or you're using a Tough Talk headset connected with one of those, Senna is the leader in quality and performance in motorcycle helmet communications. Check them out at Senna.com. Seat Concepts is the leader in motorcycle saddles. If you're looking for a new cover or a new seat entirely, Seat Concepts is the place to go. They make custom seat foams catered to your height, weight, riding ability, riding type. They also have waterproof covers and foams that will not break down if you ride in a lot of inclement weather. And they pride themselves on being much more comfortable than OEM or any other aftermarket company. If you're looking for a new seat or a new cover, Seat Concepts, there's nothing better. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the... If you've got a little Grom that's looking to get started in the motorcycle world, the best way to get them going is on a Stasic bike. They've got multiple sizes, so from your very young Groms to those who are a little more grown up, you can start them safely. They've got controls that allow you to control the speed so he can't get going too quick. They can touch the ground. There's not a lot of noise to distract them. It's the perfect way to get your child involved in motorcycling at a very young age. And if you've got a kid who's already out ripping, there's series popping up all over. For those of you in Southern California, go to www.ameminicross.com and join their local series. If you're outside of this state, contact your local track and ask them about starting a Stasic class at your local track. Get over to Stasic.com and check out all they've got going on. Motul USA. We lean hard on these lubricants to keep us on the track and on the trail. And Motul has proven their quality over and over, most recently with their Dakar win with Ricky Brabeck. They're sponsoring Supercross teams. They're diving into our sport again, full throttle, and we're stoked to have them on board. Amazing products, top to bottom. Motul USA. Go check them out. OGIO is the leader in motorcycle storage solutions. As motocross riders, we need a gear bag, we need a helmet bag, a boot bag, a backpack, a travel bag, a hydration pack, maybe a toolkit to wear around your waist if you're on an off-road ride. OGIO makes all of that, and their products are absolutely top of the line. I've got stuff I've had for several decades, just to give you an idea of how long this stuff lasts. If you're not sure, ask around, talk to folks who've had some of this stuff, and they will confirm that OGIO's quality is absolutely second to none. So go check them out, OGO_powersports.com, and look at all they've got to offer right now. You ever heard the phrase that the harder you work, the luckier you are? Well, at Luck Apparel, they believe in an acronym that kind of sums it up a little more simply than that, laboring under complete knowledge. So it isn't just some random chance that determines what your outcome or results are going to be. It's being educated and working your butt off to get it done. And I think that that goes hand in hand with the motocross industry. You don't get lucky into a win. You work your ass off and you make it happen. So check out Luck Apparel. They've got t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, all kinds of cool stuff. And we're stoked to have them on board here at the Whiskey Throttle Show in 2022. And finally, last but not least, Specialized Bicycles. If you are in the market to start pedaling, this is where you want to start. They've got great entry-level bikes all the way up to the Cadillac, the new Levo e-bike, anything in between, man. It doesn't matter what kind of riding you're doing. Go check out and start with Specialized. Don't waste your time on something that's going to break. The derailler's not going to shift after a couple months. Get something quality. These guys make it. Specialized leads that industry. Hey, everybody. Thanks for clicking on another MPH video, Moto E Performance and Health. I'm your host, David Pingree. We got Rob Beams here.
Thanks, buddy.
To provide the professional expertise.
Glad to be here.
So the topic today is bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. At least out here, and at least in the worlds I work in the fire service, and I think middle-aged men, it's very, very popular now. There's almost a drawer in the fire station refrigerator that says testosterone, and just stack them up in there.
Yep.
Good practice or no? I've got a thyroid issue, so I'm on a hypothyroid medication as well. So I do a bioidentical replacement there. What's your thoughts on this? Testosterone decreases over time as you get older naturally, but there are ways to bring it back to a degree naturally.
Yeah.
Take me through your thoughts on this.
Well, for me, I'm always going to go the natural route, but you can't argue that there's always a place and a time for something like that. You could have somebody that was textbook, stayed load-bearing exercises, so testosterone was firing, had good sex drive, had good sexual relationship. Everything is firing on all 8 cylinders, and then it just naturally wanes. I don't really get caught up in this kind of like definitive percentage of drop-off. Somebody that's eating healthier, and you always have the two extremes. You could have the guy that's been eating healthy and doing everything correctly, as we just said, and it still drops. You never know what way the body's going to go with it. Yeah. The idea that there's an alternative. I mean, who doesn't want to feel like they have better levels of energy? In regards to its role, I think it's been proven over and over again. There's so many people that are doing it now. There's nobody I've ever spoken to that says, I don't feel any better. It's people who do it. It's like, man, it's like second birth of life, right?
Yeah.
In every category under the sun. So I certainly don't judge those that have done it. You know what I mean? But how do you argue with the success of it? And I guess the more definitive topic point would be what would be the catalyst for it to go off in the first place. If you're overweight, you probably have the onset of type 2 diabetes. Nothing's firing correctly. So, you could kind of make that a rhetorical conversation over and over again. But I certainly think there's a role and a place for it. You can get into the ethical conversation about performance enhancing,
Well, and obviously at a professional level, you're dealing with people's careers. That's very, to me, more cut and dry.
Yep.
And I understand exactly what they're doing. But
yep.
If you're a guy who races on the weekends and you're just trying to live your best life and be healthy.
Absolutely.
To me, I have to defer to you as a professional on what those things, even HGH, I know guys that do that, although it's very, very expensive, but they'll say that is like miracle drug.
Absolutely, it is.
Is this, never mind the ethical side of it. If you're not racing professionally, I don't care. You know what I mean? Do what you want to do. But is that healthy long term? I mean, do we know?
We don't know. I mean, especially when you use the word synthetic, anything that's artificial like that, we're back to artificial ingredients. Can the body break it down? Can assimilate it? We don't know if you can imagine something's kind of going down the river and it's kind of backing up behind a rock and eventually it becomes a bigger issue. Is that going to have a long-term health ramification? We don't know. And the only thing, we're essentially walking around like guinea pigs. We won't know until we get some history under our belt with it. The one thing that I do think is interesting is, I don't know about you, but I'm still hyper competitive. I love to win, but I hate to lose worse. So it's frustrating to me to know that I'm bringing a butter knife to a gunfight, racing against somebody that's jacked up on this stuff. Not that I'm getting paid to do it. I do find it very interesting, because if you go over to the triathlon side of things, the guys that are winning my age group now, they would have been top 5 in the pro class 15 years ago. So you start looking at that and you go, well, damn, I'm not into a tit for tat. I'm not into level playing fields. I'm not into everybody gets a trophy. But, if I'm going to be running clean, and again, I don't judge anybody that has had to go down that route just for quality of life and all that. But man, it is a little frustrating, because where does the beginning of the conversation start, and where does the end of the conversation end?
Well, the fun thing about moto, I think for bicycling or triathlons, it's a little more contentious, because those directly produce results, right? And those synthetic drugs.
Yeah.
On a bike, you either still have the talent and the drive, or you don't.
Absolutely agree.
It's more about just being generally healthy.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I do think is interesting on the testosterone side, and because like I said, I work with a lot of guys who do this.
Sure.
And the normal, they'll say the normal range is, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it's around 200 to 1,000. Well, that's a huge range.
That's a big range.
So what if I'm a guy, one guy might feel good at 300. That's his normal for his body, but another guy's might be 900.
That's right.
And so you're at 350, and the doc goes, oh, no, you're set. You're in the normal range. Well, and there's been guys at my station that have to kind of go around these
stallmates, if you will.
Well, to I don't want to say skirt the rules to
absolutely.
Get it, because they're like, I don't feel good.
That's right.
The fire service is a rough spot for it, because we're not getting good sleep.
That's right.
Diet sometimes, fire station's a lot of meat.
Sure.
Meat and bread and potatoes.
Yeah.
So there, you can tell it's definitely, and we're exposed to a lot of crappy chemicals and stuff that stuff is drawing all of those out of your body, right? So anyway, there's a need for it there. But I just find it interesting that, Western medicine doesn't like it. You go to your doctor and they'll say, no, it causes cancer. We can't do that. We don't know.
That's right.
And they'll prescribe you their pills.
That's right. I was going to say, you just have to get to their agendas, what they're trying to change the conversation to.
So that makes it very hard to understand it.
Well, it's very frustrating for ourselves as listeners and just racers ourselves, when you don't feel good and you're trying to convince somebody of that. You're not, this is not a sport of crybabies. Right. You know what I mean? It's, we just want to feel good. We want to be strong. We want to be healthy. And when you're being told, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but I get really annoyed that somebody your age is going to be given, you're going to have a blood panel, and yours is going to be run through the same filter of somebody that's your age, that's fat, out of shape, hasn't exercised in 20 years, and the blood results are run through the same criteria of healthy, in range, out of range, whatever it may be. You don't feel good. You're in good shape. He's telling you 350 is fine. You're like, but I'm not.
Yeah.
That's very, very frustrating. And like you say, you go find somebody that listens to you.
And we've discussed this in previous shows. If you haven't seen all of them, go back and watch. But those things that will fix this, sleep and diet, which basically comes down to fats and protein.
Yep.
What else? What else can people do? Probably organic foods. What else could people do to naturally build up their testosterone and kind of get back on a good track?
Yeah, the first two are always going to be food, high quality fats, high quality protein, fruits and vegetables. Those are your easy carbs, if you will. You've got to get at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Try to push at least 2 hours of deep sleep. Try to keep that ratio between awake and deep sleep. Keep the awake time as close to 0. Keep your deep sleep as close to 2 hours as you can. Then start looking at load-bearing exercises like weightlifting, and it's almost seems contradicting, if you will, because weightlifting could be very strenuous on the body, but the body needs that load to stimulate the production of testosterone and all the other good hormones. But again, one without the other, Yeah,
and the more you stress the body, the more testosterone you burn.
But the more sleep and the more food you need. That's why I have such a hard time embracing the HIIT, high-intensity interval training, because from a textbook, absolutely agree with everything they say. I've been doing this for 38 years now. I've never had somebody report themselves to our clinic that says, hey, I'm getting enough food. I'm getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially for our listeners that have a family and they have a full-time job and we love to ride and it's just in our blood, we're not firing on all 8 cylinders, you know? So for me to come in and say, yep, what you need is to be able to push that intensity scale, I have a hard time with that, not based on the concepts of HIIT training, but the ability
based on the
to
realities
actually do
of
it. That's
life.
right. Yeah. It's like dynoing a motor and then saying, well, I'm only going to give you 8 of the 10 parts to make the rest of it run. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And if you don't have a foundation of food and sleep, why would you take on HIIT training?
Yeah, and we're so damn busy anymore. I'd be embarrassed to tell you how much I spent on DoorDash in the last month.
Absolutely.
So,
we understand.
We understand. You know, you do the best you can. But
That's right.
It'll be 6 o'clock. My wife and I look at each other. She's like, are we going to make dinner? And I'm like, nope.
Not happening.
Absolutely not. Where are we ordering it from?
Well, and that's where you get back to that ROI. You get some good food that comes in, and then you can maybe take a shower, do foam rolling, or do something while the food's coming. You can eat it and get to bed an hour early. Now you've picked up an extra hour of sleep. It's a good ROI.
Yeah. Well, all right. There's lots more to unpack there. There's more information over at CompleteRacingSolutions.com. Go check that out. There's a ton of free content and also some packages you can purchase to be kind of plugged into your pipeline and get some more direct one-on-one.
Yep, always happy to help.
So check them out. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more MPH videos.
Thanks for watching the Whiskey Throttle Show, now available on the Spot Network, an independent standalone streaming platform live now on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Play, Android TV, most smart TVs, and all phones and tablets. Look for future live shows and specials only available on Spot Network. Download the app today on your favorite device. And don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell to get alerts for all the latest content. Follow us on Twitter at W_Throttle_show and on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Whiskey Throttle Show.